Chapter 603 Secret Mandala, Sage Master Hall. Xiao Pingan once again transformed into the Sage Master and explained the general idea of the Analects of Confucius inside the Sage Master Hall, as well as the plaza outside the Sage Master Hall, were densely packed with people. Xiao Pingan had summoned soldiers, battle avatars, and all kinds of people over the past few months. They were all gathered in the Sage Master Hall to listen to Xiao Pingan's teachings and bask in the radiance of the Sage Master Hall. Xiao Pingan had summoned many farmers from the secret mandala. At this moment, these summoned farmers and craftsmen, both male and female, were also gathered in the plaza outside the Sage Master Hall. As they listened to Xiao Pingan's loud and clear voice resounding in the Sage Master Hall and the entire firmament city, rays of brilliance descended from the sky and shone on the farmer and craftsman. Wisdom gradually appeared on the faces of these farmer and craftsmen. Even warriors, giants, assassins, and divine beasts were all gathered inside and outside the Sage Master Hall to listen to Xiao Pingan's teachings. Even the streets outside the Sage Master Hall were crowded with battalions of elite slave soldiers. Those summoned elite slave soldiers were kneeling on the ground with their heads raised, looking at the Sage Master Hall with solemn expressions as if they were listening to the sounds of nature. They were looking at the glowing Sage Master Hall with pious and reverent expressions. Xiao Pingan's voice rumbled in the entire firmament city. It was like the morning bell and evening drum, enlightening everyone. Confucius said, "Man can bring glory to the Tao, but not to the Tao. Man can bring glory to the Tao, but not the Tao. Man is number one. Tao is not an illusory thing. No matter what Tao it is, it must fall on man's shoulders. Without man, there is no Tao. The Tao does not oppress man. Those who use the Tao to oppress man are bandits. Since ancient times, some bandits of the Tao have considered themselves as those who have attained the Tao, those who practice the Tao, or those who represent the Tao. They use the Tao to oppress people. They have become the gods of the human world. They have become the gods of the human world. They have become the gods of the human world. They have become the gods of the human world. They set the laws of the human world. Everything that goes against them is treason. History has no shortage of such people. They are usually sanctimonious, acting as if they are saving the people from calamity. But in private, they are shameless and immoral. They only know how to use the Tao to oppress people. They are disgraces of the Tao. Man can bring glory to the Tao, but not the Tao. In the final analysis, there is only one point. Tao is not the goal. Only man is the goal. Only man in reality is the goal. Everything that uses the illusory so-called Tao as the goal and man in reality as the means of hearing, seeing, learning, and practicing is the opposite of the teachings of the saints. The Tao of the saints is the Tao of man. This was the last sentence that Xiao Pingan preached today. After his speech, the entire secret mandala was filled with heavenly music while colorful heavenly flowers were falling down. Strange scenes appeared. On the huge pillar of the Saint Master Palace, the reliefs of those realm pearls that Xiao Pingan had fused with before appeared one after another. The historical illusions of Hua people appeared on the huge pillar once again. Those elite slave soldiers who were kneeling on the ground and listening to Zhang Tai's speech had burst into tears as if they had gained a new life. While dropping tears, those elite slave soldiers picked themselves up from the ground one after another. At the same time, a different chi appeared on these elite slave soldiers. "I'm a man. Why should I be a slave?" An elite slave soldier raised his head and roared while raising his arms. "I'm a man. Why should I be a slave?" All the elite slave soldiers roared, their voices shaking the entire secret mandala. "I can bring glory to the Tao, but not the Tao." That elite slave soldier roared once again. "I can bring glory to the Tao, but not the Tao." The other elite slave soldiers roared too. "The great Tao is in me. If the heavens suppress me, I will destroy the heavens. If the earth buries me, I will break the earth. If I'm here, the Tao exists. If they bully me, they bully the Tao." All the elite slave soldiers roared too. At this moment, golden holy light descended from the sky and shone on those elite slave soldiers. At the same time, those elite slave soldiers started to become extremely sturdy and tall with solemn looks. At the same time, golden armors, sharp spears, and flame-like javelins started to appear on their bodies. All the elite slave soldiers' chi changed. They became solemn, sacred, powerful, and fearless. Golden holy light flashed under the feet of those elite slave soldiers. At the same time, brilliant flames started to appear on the bodies of those elite slave soldiers like burning torches. At the same time, a brilliant armor appeared on the body of the leading slave soldier. Meanwhile, a huge golden copy of the Analects of Confucius appeared in his hand. Previously, two giants were kneeling on the street beside those elite slave soldiers and listening to Zhang Tai's preaching. However, at the sight of those constantly changing elite slave soldiers, the two giants also revealed a look of terror as they hurriedly moved back. Xiao Pingan was also astonished as he looked at those transforming elite slave soldiers. Xiao Pingan could see that the attributes of those elite slave soldiers had changed. Their names had changed to Templar warriors. Their HP, intelligence, power, skills, and planar descent time were all undergoing earth-shattering changes. Elite slave soldiers were the most pitiful and lowly group of people who had been oppressed by the Tao. But now this group of people had completely awakened and comprehended the Tao. The originally insignificant slave soldiers had actually evolved into powerful Templar warriors, becoming the strongest soldier type that he could summon. In addition to the slave soldiers, the wisdom of those farmer and craftsmen had also improved after Xiao Pingan's preaching. The eyes of his summoned characters became even more lively. In the secret cultivation room of Sweet Fragrance Garden, Xiao Pingan, who had just undergone divine power imbuement, opened his eyes. There was a hint of pleasant surprise in his eyes. In the secret cultivation room, there was still a formation plate protecting him. Child of Fortune and Xuanwu were standing guard beside him. After confirming that there were no problems here, Xiao Pingan felt at ease and continued to fuse with the Sage Master Realm bead. The second fusion of the Sage Master Realm bead created Templar warriors. I didn't expect that the summoned characters in the secret altar could also evolve. Xiao Pingan muttered to himself. In the future, there would be no more slave soldiers in his secret altar. There would only be Templar warriors. They would consume the same amount of divine power, but the Templar warriors he could summon would be on a completely different level compared to the slave soldiers. In addition, Xiao Pingan had once again mastered the divine power imbuement of 64 realm beads. The number of realm beads he could imbue now increased to 128. At the same time, his divine power limit increased by 100 points. The divine power limit of his secret altar was now 9,025 points. The Sage Master Hall still has 18 pillars. This means that if I preach in the Sage Master Hall 18 more times, I can increase my divine power by another 1,800 points. Xiao Pingan smiled. The divine power limit required to advance to the 8th Sun Realm was 10,920 points. If he could completely fuse with the Sage Master Realm bead now, wouldn't he be able to advance to the 8th Sun Realm immediately? However, when would the Sage Master Realm bead have another chance to impart Tao? Xiao Pingan didn't know. Xiao Pingan put away Xuanwu and the formation plate and walked out of the secret cultivation room. Only 2 hours had passed. Everything was normal outside. At this moment, the old lady from the Sky Motion sect came. She had a smile on her face and a few maids. The table was filled with delicacies, and she looked like she was here to express her condolences to Xiao Pingan. Chapter 604. Mr. May, this is the Peach Blossom Immortal Dew that has been stored in the cellar for more than 200 years. It's a specialty of our Tianxing sect. This jar of Peach Blossom Immortal Dew can extend one's life by 10 years. Our Tianxing sect only produces about 100 jars of Peach Blossom Immortal Dew a year, and this is the 10,000-year-old tortoise dragon whisker from the bottom of the sea. If you want to eat it, you have to simmer it with purple goat ginseng for 7 days and 7 nights. Only then can the taste of the tortoise dragon whisker be produced. Although it can't compare to the 10,000-year-old meat mushroom that Mr. May previously ate, it's still a great supplement for one's soul power. And this is also a specialty dish of our Mystic Realm's Imperial Palace. It's called tendons. Eating it will strengthen one's muscles and bones. It's not something an ordinary person can compare to. The granny from the Tianqing sect smiled from ear to ear as she sat beside Xia Pingan. As she watched Xia Pingan eat these extraordinary delicacies, she introduced them to Xia Pingan. Ha ha! Protector Yin is too polite. These dishes are all famous dishes. We can't let them go to waste. Xia Pingan laughed heartily as he ate and drank. He was very happy. To be honest, Xia Pingan had not eaten such a sumptuous feast ever since he entered the Seven Sun Realm and went into seclusion. Even though Xia Pingan had seen a lot of the world, the table full of dishes served to him by the Tianqing sect all had their origins. It was extremely extravagant. The granny only gave a simple introduction. If it were someone else who could speak, it would probably take 10 minutes to explain the origins and cooking methods of every dish on the table. Mr. May and I hit it off the moment we met. If Mr. May doesn't mind, you can call me Granny Yin. There's no need to be so distant. Our saintess still has to rely on Mr. May for her sacred artifact. No problem, no problem. Xia Pingan patted his chest as he ate until his mouth was covered in oil. Whenever Elder Mian plans to extract soul power again, just let me know. Since I'm here, I'll naturally listen to you and cooperate at any time. By the way, I wonder why Mr. May came to Pantheon Planet. Is it really for the divine spring provided by the 10,000 Divine Sect? Granny Yin saw that Xia Pingan was quite happy and unknowingly brought the topic of the conversation to his cultivation. Xia Pingan chuckled in his heart and said, "Sure enough, the meat show had come." "That's right." Xia Pingan sighed and put down his chopsticks. "A summoner like me is independent. To put it nicely, I'm free and unfettered. To put it bluntly, I'm a loner without any background. At my level of cultivation, countless people in the secular world rely on me, but I have no one to rely on. I can only rely on myself for everything." The divine spring of the Seven Suns realm is either hidden in an unknown place and may not be found even if you look for it for hundreds of years, or it has been controlled by a large sect. If I had other methods, I wouldn't have sold myself to the 10,000 Divine Sect and come to Pantheon Planet to risk my life. My Tianqing sect is also a large sect in the Yuanxiu world. There are also experts in the demigod realm in the sect, and we are very powerful. If Mr. May is willing to join my Tianqing sect, we will definitely welcome a talented expert like Mr. May. As long as Mr. May joins us, I can guarantee that Mr. May will be the hall master of our Tianqing sect. There will be no problem for you to control and take charge of one side. In the future, Mr. May will have the opportunity to enjoy the cultivation resources of our Tianqing sect, including the divine spring of the Realm Pearl. This is much better than Mr. May fighting alone. Granny Yin immediately said, "In your dreams, you actually want me to work for you in the Tianqing sect for free? What a cunning old fox." Xia Pingan muttered in his heart, but on the surface he sighed. "I appreciate Granny Yan's good intentions, but I already have a master in the ancestral court. It's really inconvenient for me to switch to the Tianqing sect." "Oh, I wonder what Mr. May's master is." "It's just a small sect. My master once told me that if I haven't reached the Nine Suns realm, I shouldn't say it out loud and make a fool of myself." Xia Pingan said with some melancholy. Granny Yin nodded. Many sects did have such a rule. If no one in the sect reached the Nine Suns realm, it would indeed be more low-key. Xia Pingan swept away all the delicious food and wine on the table. Granny Yin waved her hand and summoned a few maids to take away the banquet. Before taking them away, she gave Xia Pingan a jade bottle. "Mr. May, this jade bottle contains the antidote for the poison in your body. As long as you take this antidote, you will regain your freedom and can return to the god-slaying insect world at any time. You will no longer be bound by the 10,000 deities sect." Xia Pingan pretended to be surprised and excited. "Ah, isn't it only given to me after extracting all my soul power? The Tianqing sect and Mr. May are fated. We also believe in Mr. May's character. How could we bear to use this to coerce Mr. May into working for us? Thank you very much. Xiao Pingan's horse face finally revealed a trace of gratitude. He solemnly put away the jade bottle. Granny Yin smiled and nodded. Then I won't disturb Mr. May. This Qingxin garden is also a quiet place. No one will disturb you. Have a good rest, Mr. May. If Mr. needs anything, you can get someone to inform me. Xiao Pingan sent Granny Yin to the entrance of the courtyard. He only returned to his residence after watching Granny Yin leave. At this moment, the sky had already darkened. Xiao Pingan took out the exquisite jade bottle in his hand and smiled. In the future, he could openly return to the god-slaying insect world, and no one would suspect him. The Tianqing sect indeed had a sense of propriety. The so-called good impression and winning over people's hearts naturally had to be built step by step. Seeing that the Tianqing sect was not in a hurry, he also pretended not to be in a hurry. He would just settle down here for a few days. The Tianqing sect's secret realm palace was really a good place. No one would disturb him, and there were people to serve him. These days, he would study formations, mechanisms, runes, and other spells here and accumulate more life-saving means for himself. The alcohol from the peach blossom immortal dew surged up at this moment, making Xiao Pingan's body feel warm and indescribably comfortable. He even felt a little tipsy. Xiao Pingan directly returned to his room and fell asleep. In the next few days, as expected, Xiao Pingan became a distinguished guest of the Tianqing sect. Every day, they would entertain Xiao Pingan with all kinds of exotic delicacies and fine wines. Granny Yin would also send gifts to Xiao Pingan from time to time. Granny Yin gave Xiao Pingan a bottle of the Millennium Chalcedony liquid that could regenerate muscles, regenerate bones, and dispel toxins. Elder Mian treated Xiao Pingan to a drink and gave Xiao Pingan a soul tool longbow. That longbow was also of excellent quality. In this secret realm palace, except for a few forbidden areas, Xiao Pingan could come and go as he pleased. The Tianqing sect also did not restrict his freedom. It made Xiao Pingan feel like he was on vacation in this secret realm palace. Finally, on the 9th day of his stay, Xiao Pingan was just about to go to bed when a small white paper crane flew out of the window outside the courtyard and landed in front of the lampstand in front of his bedside table. When he saw the paper crane, Xiao Pingan was stunned for a moment. This was because this was the first time he had seen such a technique. This paper technique looked simple, but it gave off a sense of novelty and was very interesting. The small paper crane was cut out of paper. It was the size of a palm and looked very lifelike. After it landed on the table, it took 2 steps and combed its feathers. Then it spoke to Xiao Pingan. The voice belonged to Ming Ruolin. Ruolin will be boating at Tianfang Lake tomorrow morning at sunrise. I have also prepared some wine and dishes. If you don't mind, sir, you can come to Tianfang Lake for a gathering. The paper crane's voice had the effect of a phonograph. It was clear and bright. Ming Ruolin's voice was like the gentle chirping of jade and the swaying of silver bells. It was very pleasing to the ear. Listening to her voice made one feel as if Ming Ruolin was standing in front of them. At the same time, the paper crane seemed to carry a trace of Ming Ruolin's fragrance. Xiao Pingan laughed out loud and said to the paper crane directly, "Please tell the saintess that I will be there tomorrow." After Xiao Pingan finished speaking, the paper crane flapped its wings and flew up from the table. In the blink of an eye, it had flown out of the window. Early the next morning, as soon as the sky brightened, Xiao Pingan cleaned himself up and flew out of Pure Fragrance Garden towards Heavenly Fragrant Lake. Tianfang Lake was in the east of the Secret Realm Palace. The entire lake was about thousands of square kilometers. The lake was surrounded by beautiful scenery, and the lake water was as clear as jade. It was a good place to relax. A round of sun rose in the east of the secret realm and shone on the thin layer of mist above the lake water. It was very lively. When Xiao Pingan flew to Tianfang Lake, he saw that Ming Ruolin was already waiting there. Chapter 605. Xiao Pingan didn't know why there was a sun in this mystic realm. He felt that it was beyond his current ability to understand. However, When the rising sun shone on Ming Rulin looked like a goddess who had just walked out of the lake. Her entire body was shining. Xiao Pingan only had one thought in his mind. She's absolutely different from the secular world. She's beautiful and elegant. Mr. May is indeed punctual. I wouldn't dare to be late for an appointment with the saintess. Xiao Pingan laughed. Ming Rulin smiled and waved her hand gracefully. With a flash of light, the surface of the lake rippled and the fog rolled. Suddenly, a huge ship that was dozens of meters long appeared. The ship was divided into 3 levels and was exceptionally gorgeous. Below the ship were 2 huge water wheels. There were sailors, maids, and musicians on the ship. Summoning a ship? This move alone was enough to defeat many 7-Sun Realm summoners. Xiao Pingan still hadn't seen what the Realm Pearl used to summon a ship looked like. As soon as the ship was summoned, Ming Rulin landed on the ship. Xiao Pingan also landed on the ship. The two of them entered the room on the top floor of the ship. It was the highest and had the best scenery. It was also the most spacious room. There were a few musicians playing music in the room. There were 2 tables in the room with tea and wine on them. There were maids waiting on them. Although there were only 2 people on the ship, it looked quite lively because of the summoners. There wasn't any ambiguity or awkwardness. The 2 of them sat behind the 2 tables and enjoyed the scenery outside the window as they chatted. I wonder how Mr. May has been here these past few days. Are you satisfied? Ming Rulin chatted with Xiao Pingan like a host. To be honest, I haven't enjoyed such a carefree life since I entered the god-slaying bug realm. Xiao Pingan said sincerely. By the way, what's the relationship between the saintess and the sect master of the Sky Motion sect? The sect leader is my adoptive mother and my master. It's all thanks to the sect leader that I am who I am today. Ming Rulin replied calmly. Hearing Ming Rulin's words, Xiao Pingan immediately understood where Ming Rulin's fortuitous opportunity lay. It turned out that the Sky Motion sect's sect master had taken her in as a foster daughter and disciple. No wonder. It could only be said that this was an opportunity. After roughly guessing Ming Rulin's fortuitous encounter, Xiao Pingan resisted the urge to reveal his identity. If he recognized Ming Rulin at this time, it would not be a good thing for him and Ming Rulin. He did not know if Ming Rulin's identity as a space traverser had been exposed in the Sky Motion sect, but he was wanted by the Blood Demon sect and wanted by the Demon Sovereign. If Ming Rulin knew his identity, it might not be a good thing for the 2 of them. After making up his mind, Xiao Pingan took a deep breath and raised his wine cup to Ming Rulin. It's really rare for the saintess to have such an opportunity. It's really enviable. Let me propose a toast to the saintess. Sir, you want to extract your soul power to complete the saint artifact in my hand. I am indebted to you, so you can call me Rulin. Ming Rulin raised her wine cup and clinked it with Xiao Pingan's before drinking it in one gulp. Rulin, you don't have to be so polite. This is what I should do. I obtained the Myriad God Sect's Nether Passage Realm Divine Spring, so I naturally have to pay. It's an equivalent exchange. Whenever the Sky Motion sect needs to extract my soul power, I'll be there at your call. Ming Rulin pondered for a moment, and her eyes flashed with wisdom. Sir, your agreement with the Myriad God Sect is with the Myriad God Sect. In any case, Sir has also helped the Sky Motion sect greatly this time. The 2 cannot be confused. I don't know if Sir has any requests. Is there anything in particular that you want? You can tell us. As long as the Sky Motion sect can do it, it will be a reward for Sir. After a few days of warming up, Ming Rulin personally came forward today. With the halo of the Saintess Halo, she should be able to dissolve the conflicting emotions in his heart to the greatest extent and satisfy his emotions to the greatest extent. This arrangement was indeed shrewd and appropriate. Xiao Pingan himself could not find any fault with it. Now was the time to extort. Of course, Xiao Pingan would not be polite. He could only say in his heart, sorry, I'm also doing this for the sake of the mission. Xiao Pingan's eyes flashed. He pressed his hands on the table and leaned forward slightly. His face was full of ambition. Since Rulin asked, I'll tell you the truth. My greatest pursuit is to become a demigod. I can bring glory to my ancestors and my sect. What I need the most is naturally the Realm Pearl. Xiaoping's ambition was to become a god. At this moment, he said demigod because he did not want to attract too much attention. In the eyes of many summoners, becoming a demigod was the pursuit of many ambitious summoners. After all, the path to becoming a god was too uncertain. It was as difficult as climbing the sky for a demigod expert, let alone others. No matter how confident a summoner was, no one would talk about becoming a god. Ming Rulin nodded slightly. She did not seem to be surprised by Xiaoping's answer. A summoner who was willing to risk himself for the divine spring was a ruthless person who pursued strength at all costs. Mr. Mei, have you integrated with this realm pearl before? Ming Rulin said. She moved her hand and took out a realm pearl that was as bright as a small sun. This was the brightest realm pearl that Xia Pingan had ever seen. When the realm pearl was taken out, the entire cabin was suddenly illuminated by a snow-white divine light. Everything around them became holy and ethereal, as if they were in a heavenly palace. Amidst the resplendent light, Xia Pingan saw that there was only one word on the realm pearl. Yao. Sacred Sun Realm Pearl. Xia Pingan exclaimed. This was definitely one of the rarest and most precious realm pearls. Xia Pingan had heard about it when he was in Shangjing City. The rarity of this realm pearl was comparable to that of a realm pearl. However, compared to a realm pearl, this realm pearl had its own advantages. This Sacred Sun Realm Pearl could consolidate the secret mandala. It was the key realm pearl for the secret mandala to eventually form a divine kingdom. At the same time, this realm pearl could also make the secret mandala materialize. For example, Xiaoping's secret mandala now had rivers, lakes, seas, mountains, and forests. However, he could no longer raise fish in the rivers, lakes, and seas of the secret mandala, nor could he raise sheep in the grasslands or plant trees in the mountains, let alone move living people into the secret mandala. He could only use the space warehouse in the realm pearl and move some lifeless things into the realm pearl for processing. However, a summoner who integrated with the Sacred Sun Realm Pearl could make the secret mandala materialize and gradually turn it into a real world. Once the secret mandala integrated with this realm pearl, he could really raise fish in the rivers of the secret mandala and plant trees in the mountains. He could even move people into the secret mandala and create a world of their own in the secret mandala where they could live freely. Furthermore, it was rumored that this Sacred Sun Realm Pearl could be integrated with at the Seventh Sun Realm. Could it be that the Sky Motion sect wanted to give this Sacred Sun Realm Pearl to him? This price seemed a little too high. It had already far exceeded what he should pay for one soul power draw. Chapter 606. Xia Pingan stared at the Sun's Sacred Realm Pearl in Ming Rulin's hand as he licked his lips and asked, Rulin, are you giving me this Sun's Sacred Realm Pearl as a gift? If the Sky Motion sect really dared to give it to him, he would definitely accept it. However, he also knew that the Sky Motion sect wouldn't give him such a precious realm pearl for no reason. The Sky Motion sect wasn't a fool either. If Mr. Mei wants it, we can naturally give you this realm pearl. Ming Rulin smiled. Mr. Mei should know that this Sun's Sacred Realm Pearl has almost never produced a corresponding consciousness crystal. However, in the history of our Sky Motion sect, there have been 3 elders and sect masters who have successfully fused with this Sun Sacred Realm Pearl. Our Sky Motion sect has the life records and sect records of these 3 people. Looking at these records and understanding the lives of the 3 seniors of our Sky Motion sect can increase your chances of fusing with this Realm Pearl by more than 40%. If Mr. Mei wants to fuse with this Realm Pearl, our Sky Motion sect can also give you the confidential information of our Sky Motion sect on fusing with this Realm Pearl to help you succeed. Without a consciousness crystal and without knowing the history of the Realm Pearl, the method for the rich and powerful sects to fuse with realm pearls was to collect information on those who had fused with a certain realm pearl and conduct a big data analysis on the personality, abilities, and past of the person who had fused with the realm pearl. The more data they analyzed, the more similarities they could find between the person who had fused with the realm pearl. This was an important reference for fusing with the realm pearl. Ordinary people couldn't use this method at all. Only the rich and powerful sects had the qualifications to use this method. The analysis data also became the secrets or even treasures of these rich and powerful sections. I'm no longer a child today. The Sky Motion sect wouldn't give away such a precious realm pearl for no reason. What conditions do the Sky Motion sect have? Let me hear them and see if I can fulfill them. Very well. Actually, the Sky Motion sect has two conditions. As long as Mr. May can fulfill one of them, our Sky Motion sect can give this Sun Sacred Realm Pearl to Mr. May and let Mr. May read the confidential information to help Mr. fuse with this Realm Pearl. What are the two conditions? First, didn't you encounter a 10,000 years meat mushroom before? As long as you can find a way to capture it, our Sky Motion sect is willing to exchange the Sacred Realm Pearl with you. Xiao Pingan immediately understood. The Sky Motion sect wanted to nurture a disciple with extremely high soul force to nurture a sacred artifact. No, they wanted Ming Rulin to have extremely high soul force. Then, Ming Rulin would naturally be able to use her own soul force to nurture a sacred artifact. Once and for all, there was no need to trouble others. Xiaoping's soul force had increased by several times after eating the 10,000-year meat mushroom. If Ming Rulin ate the 10,000-year meat mushroom, then increasing her soul force by more than 10 times would be child's play. However, the 10,000-year meat Zoisha was made up by Xiaopingan. He only knew about it from old Mu, and it could also strengthen one's soul power. However, he didn't know where to find the 10,000-year meat Zoisha, so he couldn't fulfill this condition. What's the second condition? Xiaopingan asked. Mr. May should know that the soul force in your body is abnormally dense. If an ordinary person were to extract enough soul force to refine 10 ordinary soul artifacts at once, the damage would be very great. Even pills wouldn't be able to make up for it. The effects of pills are related to the foundation of a person's soul force. Mr. May's soul force is too dense. So even if you extract enough soul force to refine 10 ordinary soul artifacts at once, it wouldn't do much damage to you. Furthermore, you can make up for it by eating pills later on. Xiaopingan nodded. That's right. So, as long as you agree to let the Sky Motion sect extract your soul force 7 times every 10 years, this realm pearl can be given to you after 70 years. An expert who had just reached the 7th Sun realm might not be able to reach the 8th Sun realm in the next 100 years. At this realm, the number of realm pearls that could be fused with would become fewer and fewer, and the time spent in each realm would become longer and longer. It was very normal for a realm above the 7th Sun realm to be delayed for 1 to 200 years, or even 2 to 300 years. Therefore, the 70 years Ming Rulin said seemed very long, but it wasn't unacceptable for an expert of this level. Oh, didn't I agree to let Elder Mian extract my soul force last time? Why do you have to go to such lengths to make me agree again? Xiaopingan pretended to be confused. Ming Rulin then explained the relationship between soul force and emotions. Xiaopingan pretended to be enlightened and embarrassed. I'm sorry, I didn't think it would be like this. It's just that I really can't control the soul force. Mister's situation is special, but we don't blame you. That's why I came to have a good talk with Mister today. To relieve Mister's discomfort. We want to cooperate with Mister for a long time. In order to express our sincerity, we can give Mister this Sun Sacred Realm Pearl after we cooperate 7 times. We can also give Mister 2 rare realm pearls and corresponding divine thought crystals every time Mister allows us to extract his godly power. After the 3rd time, we can let Mister see the secret records of the Sky Motion sect fusing with the Sun Sacred Realm Pearl. For the last time, we'll give Mister this Sun Sacred Realm Pearl. Xiaopingan almost laughed out loud. The Celestial Motion sect was indeed very considerate. They had considered everything. In order to make him happy, the Celestial Motion sect had given him a long-term goal. They had motivated him to actively contribute his divine power, and they had also given him rewards and benefits that he could touch immediately. They had him in a tight grip. This was a good ripoff. The realm pearls were indeed very efficient. It saved him a lot of time and effort. Xiaopingan originally wanted to extort 3 realm pearls. However, The Sky Motion Sex proposal was also acceptable. Xiao Pingan decided to stop while he was ahead. If he was too greedy, he would be ungrateful. If his relationship with the Sky Motion Sex soured, he wouldn't be able to continue extorting them in the future. A small stream flows a long stream. To be able to use the soul force that he could easily obtain in the spirit realm in exchange for so many benefits in the Sky Motion sect, Xiao Pingan felt that he had already profited greatly. Xiao Pingan's eyes lit up. He revealed an interested expression. Rulin, you mean that if I contribute my godly power this time, I can also receive 2 rare realm pearls from the Sky Motion sect as a reward? That's right. I've already fused with many rare realm pearls. The Sky Motion sect will only give me realm pearls that I haven't fused with before to be useful. Of course, we'll take out some rare realm pearls for Mr. to choose from. Ming Rulin smiled when she saw Xia Pingan's expression. Elder Mian, when can you extract my soul force again? I feel like I'm ready now. Xiao Pingan couldn't help but stand up. A day later, Elder Mian, Granny Yin, Ming Rulin, and Xiao Pingan gathered in the same secret room as before. Everything was the same as before. However, this time, Elder Mian's method was exceptionally smooth. The golden strand of soul force that was drawn out from between Xiao Pingan's eyebrows didn't resist or change in the slightest when it touched the Saint Artifact flute. Instead, it seemed a bit impatient and was easily absorbed by the Saint Artifact flute. As the Saint Artifact flute absorbed the soul force, it emitted a bright green light. The green light reflected on the walls of the room, making it look like a palace made of jade. Elder Mian and Granny Yin exchanged glances and nodded. Within the emerald green light, Xiao Pingan shockingly discovered that there were mushrooms, weeds, and wildflowers growing wildly on the stone floor of the room. This was not an illusion. Plants were really starting to sprout and grow in all parts of the room. On a sandalwood table in the room, there were even lingji mushrooms growing in the green light, their fragrance filling the room. Was this the power of a saint artifact? Looking at everything in the room, Xiao Pingan couldn't help but be impressed by the power displayed by the saint artifact. He was secretly shocked. The higher the summoner's rank, the closer they would be to mastering this kind of extraordinary power that was close to the origin of the universe. It was truly too powerful. It only took a little more than an hour to extract the soul force. Elder Mian didn't even manage to extract 11 strands of soul force. It was a little more than Xiao Pingan had expected, but it wasn't excessive. After the soul force was extracted, the soul artifact flute began to hum without any wind. A beautiful melody sounded from the holes of the flute. Ming Rulin hurriedly put away the soul artifact flute. At this time, the room had already turned into a green forest. Xiao Pingan looked like he had turned into medicinal dregs and was dispirited and listless. Granny Yin finally revealed a smile and nodded in satisfaction. She let the maids take Xiao Pingan away to rest. Chapter 607. After leaving the secret chamber and returning to Qingxin Garden, Xiao Pingan pretended to eat some soul force nourishing pills sent by the Sky Motion sect before falling asleep. It wasn't until the next morning that Xiao Pingan seemed to have recovered a little, and his complexion looked a little better. Granny Yin came to visit early in the morning. After a night of rest, Mr. May should have recovered a little. Granny Yin was all smiles, and her attitude toward Xiao Pingan was much better. Now that she had a good relationship with Xiao Pingan, it wouldn't be so troublesome for the Sky Motion sect's holy artifact to require soul force nourishment in the future. Furthermore, after the holy artifact was nourished by Xiao Pingan's soul force yesterday, Elder Mian and Ming Rulin both said that the effects were beyond their expectations. Mr. May's soul force was purer than an ordinary person's, and the effect on the holy artifact was even stronger. Therefore, Granny Yin was in a good mood, and she finally had a load off her mind. It's all right. I was still a little dizzy yesterday, but I feel much better today, Xiao Pingan said. Mr. May, you can stay in the Secret Realms Palace for a few more days. I've instructed my subordinates to add more soul force nourishing items to Mr. May's meals, so that Mr. May can recover sooner. Thank you, thank you. Xiao Pingan didn't bother with formalities and directly revealed his true colors as he asked, "The two realm pearls that you promised me before." Haha. Granny Yin laughed. "My Sky Motion sect is a reputable sect, and we naturally won't go back on our promise to Mr. May. The Saintess is still studying the holy artifact today, so she didn't have time to come. Therefore, I specially came today to give Mr. May the realm pearls," Granny Yin said, and didn't bother with formalities with Xiao Pingan. She waved her hand, and an open box appeared on the table in front of them. The box looked like a treasure chest, and it was divided into small compartments. There were 10 horizontal and 10 vertical compartments, and the box was divided into 100 compartments. In each compartment, there was a realm pearl on the left and a corresponding divine sense crystal on the right. Looking at the 100 dazzling realm pearls and 100 spiritual force crystals in front of him, Xiao Pingan felt that his horizons had been broadened. He sucked in a breath of cold air. A large sect was indeed extraordinary. If these 100 realm pearls were given to any summoner, that summoner would at least be able to advance to the Three-Sun realm. Xiao Pingan also knew why Ming Rulin had been able to reach the Seven-Sun realm. With such a large sect backing her, it was indeed not difficult for her to reach the Seven-Sun realm with a pile of resources. Granny Yin smiled when she saw Xiao Pingan's shocked expression. There was a hint of pride on her face. "These are only a portion of the Heaven Motion sect's realm pearls. Mr. May, you could choose 2 of them." Xiao Pingan had actually merged with most of the realm pearls before. However, there were also some realm pearls that he hadn't merged with before. Xiao Pingan was dazzled by the variety of realm pearls. If he could snatch them, Xiao Pingan would want to snatch all the realm pearls. However, when he thought about how he might not be a match for Granny Yin, and how he wouldn't be able to leave this mystic realm palace even if he managed to snatch them, Xiao Pingan gave up on the idea of snatching the realm pearls. If he could only merge 2 realm pearls, he naturally had to choose the realm pearl that was most useful to him. Xiao Pingan's gaze searched the realm pearls one by one. Suddenly, he saw a realm pearl that he hadn't merged with before. The realm pearl was blood red, and there were 4 golden words on it: "Pig herding in the Forbidden Garden." Upon seeing this realm pearl, Xiao Pingan's heart skipped a beat as he asked Granny Yin directly, "Granny Yin, what's so special about this realm pearl?" Granny Yin glanced at the realm pearl and laughed. "Mr. May, you have good taste. This realm pearl is called an evil-breaking realm pearl. It's considered rare, even among the rare realm pearls. After merging with this realm pearl, you can use an evil-breaking technique that specializes in breaking all kinds of evil Dao techniques, such as corpse transformation techniques, curse techniques, and soul-stealing substitute puppet sacrificial techniques." "Ah, then I'll take this realm pearl," Xiao Pingan said as he unceremoniously picked up the realm pearl and spiritual force crystal. This realm pearl was the nemesis of the evil demons, Eye on Earth. It would be very useful after merging with it. "Mr. May, you can choose another realm pearl." Xiao Pingan glanced at those realm pearls and saw the word Wengzhong written on one of them. He couldn't help but pick up that realm pearl and the corresponding spiritual force crystal again. This realm pearl of Wengzhong was also used to summon giants. Giants were very powerful. After accumulating and merging with the realm pearls of these summoned giants, the summoned giants would become bigger and stronger. "Mr. May, have you made your choice?" "I've made my choice. Thank you, Granny." Xiao Pingan smiled with satisfaction. "I can see that Mr. May can't wait any longer, so I won't disturb Mr. May any further. You can merge with the realm pearls here at ease. No one will disturb Mr. May. If you need anything, just tell the maids." "Okay." Granny Yin waved her hand, put away the realm pearls on the table, and stood up. Xiao Pingan pointed at Granny Yin and sent her out of the courtyard before returning to the secret cultivation room in the courtyard. After returning to the secret cultivation room, Xiao Pingan summoned Boy of Fortune and Xuanwu and used the array disc to protect the secret cultivation room. Then, he took out the 2 realm pearls and carefully examined them in his hands. "It seems like I really need to find an excuse to stay in the secret realm of the Celestial Motion sect for a few more days. The Celestial Motion sect is really rich. They must have a lot of realm pearls. I'll stay here for a few more days. If the Celestial Motion sect needs more from me, I might be able to get a few more realm pearls. Xiao Pingon muttered to himself with a smile on his face. Looking at the 2 realm pearls in his hands again, Xiao Pingon already had a plan in mind. The realm pearl, herding pigs in the Forbidden Park, referred to an incident that happened during the Song Shinzong era. The main character of the incident was Song Shinzong. The Forbidden Park was the imperial garden of the Song dynasty. It was used to raise rare animals in the world. This incident was a little mysterious, but Xiao Pingon knew the cause and effect. Therefore, it wasn't difficult for Xiao Pingon to fuse with this realm pearl. However, this realm pearl of Wang Zhong that could summon giants was a little different. Wang Zhong was a giant general under Qin Shi Huang. According to the historical records, Wang Zhong was nearly 2 feet tall. He was a giant general under Qin Shi Huang. There weren't many records of Wang Zhong's deeds in the official history, but there were many legends among the people. Since the Qin and Han dynasties, the giant stone man standing in front of the emperor's tomb was called Stone Wang Zhong. How should he fuse with this realm pearl of Wang Zhong? Since he had Wang Zhong's divine sense crystal, Xiao Pingon wasn't going to waste it. It could be used as a reference. Xiao Pingon first fused with this realm pearl of Wang Zhong along with the divine sense crystal. In an instant, Xiao Pingon was wrapped in an earthen yellow cocoon of light. However, this cocoon of light didn't last long. In less than 30 seconds, the cocoon of light shattered, revealing Xiao Pingon's figure and a slightly shocked expression. He didn't expect this realm pearl to be so easy to fuse with. Chapter 608. This realm bead of Wang Zhong that Xiao Pingon had just integrated was similar to the realm bead of earth escaping skill that Xiao Pingon had obtained before. It was both the easiest and the most difficult to integrate. Just now, in the world of the realm bead, a majestic giant in armor was standing in front of Xiao Pingon. As long as Xiao Pingon said the name of Wang Zhong, this realm bead would be integrated successfully. If one didn't know the history of this realm bead or had a spiritual crystal, the probability of successfully integrating this realm bead was 0. After integrating this realm bead of Wang Zhong, Xiao Pingon picked up that realm bead of pig herding in Forbidden Garden. After a short while, he was wrapped in the light cocoon once again. As soon as he opened his eyes, Xiao Pingon found himself in a garden. What entered his eyes was a piece of flourishing beauty. In the surrounding garden, there were artificial mountains, man-made ponds, corridors, pavilions, halls, pavilions, and flowers. Several guards were following beside him, and in front of him, there was a eunuch whose face was as white as snow, who was carefully introducing the place to him. Look, the long pine trees, ancient cypresses, pomegranates, cherries, as well as the ornamental Julie, Shandan, auspicious fragrance, and Smiley, are all from Fujin and Lingnan. They were built in Qinda 2 years ago. That high mound over there is Huazue Mound. There's a horizontal view on the mound. From the horizontal view, you can see the Fengjiong Mound and the Ruohong Bridge in the painting pond at the foot of the mountain. The willows around the painting pond are also very good. Although the painting pond is smaller than Jinming Pond, it also has a unique scenery. If Your Majesty wants to go up there, I can show you the way. No, I'll just take a stroll around, Xiao Pingon said casually. A few days ago, some peacocks and monkeys with golden fur were sent from the south. They've been settled in the garden. Different from common monkeys, the monkeys have golden fur all over and have an auspicious aura. Your Majesty, you should take a look. The old eunuch introduced them with a smile. After that, he led Xiao Pingon to another direction along the path ahead. Monkeys with golden fur? Auspicious aura? Isn't that a golden-haired monkey? Xiao Pingon shook his head with a smile. At the same time, he glanced around the Forbidden Garden. The Forbidden Garden of the Northern Song Dynasty was indeed a first-class place in Dongjing City. It gathered all the rare birds, exotic beasts, flowers, and rare plants. Every plant here had a history. No wonder Song Shinzong was stunned when he saw some dirty big black pig herding here. The old eunuch was leading Xiao Pingon to the place where the animals were kept. Before they had walked dozens of meters, the branches of a nearby flower bed suddenly trembled. Then a black shadow drilled out of the flower bed and rushed toward Xia Pingan at an extremely fast speed. When the nearby guards saw something rushing towards them, two guards immediately stood in front of Xia Pingan. One of the guards was worthy of being called an expert. As soon as the shadow rushed out from the thicket, the other guard rushed forward like an arrow. With just a kick, the shadow was kicked until it let out an ear-piercing scream. It was kicked 2 meters into the air and heavily fell to the side of the flower bed. As soon as the shadow fell to the ground, a saber light flashed and the shadow was cut into 2 halves. The bodyguards of the emperor were, of course, masters. The old eunuch leading the way was so scared that his face turned pale. It was not until this moment that he shouted, "Protect the emperor! Protect the emperor! Don't panic, it's just a pig." Xia Pingan shook his head and waved his hand to signal the guard beside him to stand aside. He walked forward to take a look. The black shadow that had alarmed the guard beside him was only a black pig that was over 1 meter long, born and raised here. The big black pig was dead, but it still smelled bad. There was a layer of pig dung and mud on its body. Blood flowed all over the ground. It looked extremely filthy. Just now, when the black pig rushed out of the flower bed, it was kicked by a bodyguard, and its internal organs and spine were all broken. When it fell to the ground, it was killed by another bodyguard. At this moment, the big black pig's blood was all over the ground, and it was motionless. The bodyguards at the side were also shocked. They looked at each other. How could there be such a vulgar thing like a pig in the imperial Forbidden Garden? It almost alarmed the emperor. As soon as the big black pig was killed, 2 people holding ropes and wooden sticks ran over while panting. Judging from their attire, the 2 people were wearing the servant attire of the Forbidden Garden. When they saw that the big black pig had been killed and that the emperor was here, the 2 people were so scared that their faces turned pale and they hurriedly knelt down. "Bastard, how did this pig come here?" It almost alarmed the emperor. The old eunuch went up and scolded. "Eunuch, please calm down. This pig was originally in the pigsty over there. We don't know why it broke out of the pigsty and ran over here today. We quickly chased after it." "What? Pigs are raised in the Forbidden Garden?" Xia Pingan asked. The old eunuch quickly turned his head and explained to Xia Pingan, "Sir, these pigs were not raised in recent years. They have been raised since the time of the Emperor Taizu. The Emperor Taizu set a rule that some pigs should be raised in the Forbidden Garden. They should be raised in the corner of the Forbidden Garden. Usually they're surrounded in one place and no one could see them. Oh, let's go take a look." Xia Pingan's interest was piqued. He wanted to go take a look. The so-called rare beasts in the Forbidden Garden were not rare. However, he wanted to see how these big black pigs were raised. "Sir, the place where the pigs are raised is too filthy and indecent. All the land in the 4 seas belongs to the emperor. What's more, there is no place in the Forbidden Garden that I can't go. What's more, there are many pigs raised in the Forbidden Garden. There is no harm in me going to see it. Let's go." Seeing Xia Pingan's resolute attitude, the eunuch could only take Xia Pingan to the place where the pigs were raised in the Forbidden Garden. To be honest, there weren't many pig farms in the world that were clean, let alone in ancient times. Even in the Forbidden Garden, the place where the pigs were raised was the same. It was specially built with bamboo forests and cherry trees in the most remote corner of the Forbidden Garden. There was a pigsty inside. Usually, the people in the Forbidden Garden would throw the leftover swill and kitchen waste into this place to raise pigs. The pigs were rolling in the mud pit. The pig feces pit was also next to it. The stench was overwhelming. There were 7 or 8 black pigs in the pigsty. All of them were in high spirits and were well taken care of by the servants in the Forbidden Garden. The old eunuch looked at Xia Pingan's expression and said carefully, "These pigs are too filthy. It is not suitable to raise them here. If your majesty doesn't like them, I will ask people to remove the pigsty in the Forbidden Garden and not raise them." Xia Pingan smiled slightly. In the real history, when Emperor Shenzong of Song found that the Imperial Garden was still raising these filthy and smelly pigs, he also felt that these pigs were a nuisance in the Forbidden Garden. Therefore, he asked people to remove the pigsty and stop raising pigs. However, in less than 2 months, Emperor Shinzong asked people to start raising pigs in the Forbidden Garden again. Why? Because more than a month later, there was a night when a demon used sorcery to make trouble in the Imperial Palace, causing chaos in the Imperial Palace. Then, an old man in the Imperial Palace said that according to the traditions and rules left in the Imperial Palace, fresh pig blood could be used to break the evil sorcery of the demon. However, where could they find fresh pig blood in such a short time? After the report was reported to Emperor Shinzong of Song, Emperor Shinzong finally understood why his ancestors wanted to raise pigs in the Imperial Forbidden Garden. They were prepared to break the evil sorcery at a critical moment. Pigs lived in the dirtiest and smelliest places without any taboos. Therefore, pig blood had the innate effect of breaking the evil sorcery. Since raising pigs in the Forbidden Garden is a rule left behind by the Great Ancestor, then the Great Ancestor naturally has his reasons. We don't understand this reason now, but there's no need to rush to deny it. Leave these pigs here first and raise them as usual, Xiao Pingan ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. More than a month later, at night, a few green flames suddenly appeared in the Great Song Imperial Palace, floating around. Around the flames, there were cries of people. Various noises also came from a few abandoned courtyards and palaces that no one lived in. There were ghostly shadows everywhere. The Imperial Palace guards had a headache and were scared witless. In the end, an old eunuch who had lived in the Imperial Palace for many years said that they could use pig blood to break the evil sorcery. Then, the Imperial Palace guards remembered that there were still pigs in the Forbidden Garden. Immediately, someone went to get fresh pig blood. When they got the pig blood, they splashed it on the evil sorcery. All the evil sorcery was broken. They even caught a demon who somehow broke into the Imperial Palace. The next day, Xiao Pingan received a report that the demon was caught in the Imperial Palace last night. Only then did he know that the pigs in the Forbidden Garden had made a contribution. Before he could praise the Imperial Palace guards, the world of the Realm Pearl was shattered. The second Realm Pearl was successfully integrated. The divine power limit of the secret mandala had reached 9,087 points after the integration of the two Realm Pearls. Chapter 609. In the secret chamber, Xiao Pingan opened his eyes and exhaled. It had been less than an hour since the second Realm Pearl had been fused. There was an additional carving in the temple. The golden words on the mountain had been lit up. Xiao Pingan had also mastered an exorcism spell. This spell could be used without pig's blood, but with pig's blood, the spell's power would increase. Xiao Pingan then left the secret chamber in Pure Fragrance Garden. It was still morning in the Secret Realms Palace. It was not yet noon, and the sun shone on the blooming peach blossoms in Pure Fragrance Garden. A few carps were playing in the pond in the garden. Everything was so warm and peaceful. A few days ago, a few Heaven Motion sect disciples seemed to be discussing array discs at Plum Blossom Mountain. He wanted to give it a try and sell them a few array discs or lightning talismans to see if he could exchange them for some realm pearls that he had not used before. Oh, and the longbow that Elder Mion gave him should be able to exchange for a few realm pearls. The Heaven Motion sect had given him those items, but they did not say that he could not use them to exchange for realm pearl for their disciples. Xiao Pingan made up his mind. He smiled and left Pure Fragrance Garden, flying towards Plum Blossom Mountain. It was now his honeymoon period with the Heaven Motion sect. Their relationship was good. He could openly trade with the Heaven Motion sect disciples and obtain some realm pearls. It should not be too much for them to take what they needed. A soul master's abilities were a little sensitive and should not be exposed. If he exposed his soul master profession, then a soul master would have to sell himself to the 10,000 God sect for the 7-sun realm divine spring and pretend not to know anything in front of Elder Mion. This was too strange and would probably make people think of something. In comparison, array masters were not as sensitive. It's easy to obtain realm pearls and resources from large sects. Xiao Pingan sighed as he flew. If he had been on a battlefield on the 10,000 God planet, he might not have been able to obtain 2 realm pearls, let alone obtain the 10,000 God sect's antidote and avoid future troubles. In short, He had profited from this trip to the Heaven Motion Sect's secret realm palace. An unexpected gain was that he had obtained information about Ming Ruolin. Xiaopinggan was in a good mood. Plum Blossom Mountain was to the north of the heavenly fragrant lake. It was named because it had 5 peaks that looked like plum blossoms from the sky. It was also a beautiful place in the secret realm palace. Many Heaven Motion Sect disciples lived near it. Just as Mount Plum Blossom was in sight, something strange happened. A bolt of lightning exploded in the sky above the secret realm of the Celestial Motion Sect. A bolt of purple lightning stretched for hundreds of miles and tore the sky apart, leaving a terrifying crack in the sky. The sun in the secret realm of the Celestial Motion Sect, which hadn't even reached the middle of the sky, was directly shattered by the purple lightning when the bolt of lightning tore through the sky. It exploded in the sky and turned into a rain of fire that fell from the sky. In an instant, the Heaven Motion Sect's secret realm palace plunged into darkness. The shattered sun turned into a rain of fire and fell from the sky. Holy sh**t. Xiaopinggan was still thinking about the disc array that he had eliminated. He wanted to know the market price of the Heaven Motion Sect's disc array. The terrifying shockwave that came from the sky had already swept across the sky. The clouds were cleared and the trees on the ground were destroyed. Trees that required several people to wrap their arms around were snapped in half. The calm, heavenly fragrant lake's water was swept up, forming a huge wave that was more than 10 meters tall that surged towards the lake. When the shockwave was about to hit him, Xiaopinggan, who was flying in the sky, had nowhere to hide. He quickly released 2 layers of water shields to protect his body. As the shockwave swept past, the blue water shield turned from a circular shape to an oval shape. Ripples appeared on the surface of the water that was full of tension, changing into different shapes. Finally, the shockwave was dispelled and he was fine. In just a short while, the Heaven Motion Sect's secret realm palace, which was originally like a paradise, was now in a mess. Xiaopinggan looked up and saw that at the highest point in the sky of the secret realm starry sky, there was a huge fissure that was 50 kilometers long. The fissure was like a roof that had been torn open. Outside the fissure were dark red or black rolling clouds. It was the scene that Xiaopinggan had seen when he came to the Heaven Motion Sect South Pole. From time to time, lightning would streak across the sky. Just as Xiaopinggan was sizing up the fissure in the sky, figures flew in from the fissure. One of them had a powerful aura that was extremely domineering. Old woman Yin, Ming Ruolin, it's useless for you to hide here. Hand over the sacred artifact that you obtained from the Immeasurable Mountain's secret cave. That's a treasure that our Shu Long family discovered. A coarse and domineering voice resounded throughout the secret realm palace. Oh no, the enemies of the Heaven Motion Sect have actually come knocking. Xiaopinggan had previously heard the Heaven Motion Sect's disciples talk about the Shu Long family. The Shu Long family was the powerful divine descendant family that had gotten into a dispute with the Heaven Motion Sect in the Immeasurable Mountain's secret cave in the god-slaying bug world. The Shu Long family was so powerful that the Heaven Motion Sect had no choice but to avoid them. The flute's sacred artifact was indeed snatched from Immeasurable Mountain by the Heaven Motion Sect. This thought flashed through Xiaopinggan's mind. As soon as this thought crossed his mind, Xiaopinggan saw many Heaven Motion Sect's disciples fly up from the Plum Blossom Mountain in front of him. When they saw that there were foreign enemies invading, the Heaven Motion Sect's disciples hurriedly flew in the direction they had just come from. That was where the palace garden in the center of the secret realm palace was located. Granny Yan's voice rang out at the same time and resounded throughout the secret realm palace. She was extremely angry and cold. Shulongji, you old man, do you really think that our Heaven Motion Sect is afraid of your Shu Long family? Anyone can go to the Immeasurable Mountain in the god-slaying bug world. It's not your Shu Long family's territory. Why should we hand over the sacred artifact that our Heaven Motion Sect found to your Shu Long family? You actually dared to damage our secret realm palace. Don't blame me for being merciless this time. So what if you're merciless? Hand over the sacred artifact, and our Shu Long family will spare your lives. The same voice rang out again. It was completely unreasonable. Activate the palace formation. All disciples of the Heaven Motion sect, prepare to meet the enemy. Granny Ann's voice was sharp and thin, piercing Xia Pingan's ears once again. This was the last voice Xia Pingan heard in the secret realm palace of the Heaven Motion sect. As soon as Granny Ann's voice fell, Xia Pingan discovered that the ground and the air beneath his feet lit up with rays of light. Before he could react, he was pulled and pushed out by an unparalleled force. Just like the impurities and dust in the secret realm palace, he was directly squeezed out of the secret realm palace of the Heaven Motion sect. Like a bullet, he was thrown out of the crack in the sky of the secret realm palace. Chapter 610. Light flashed in front of his eyes. When Xia Pingan came to a stop, he was already in the huge spatial rift in the sky of Pantheon Planet. Black and red fog surged around him as lightning and storms raged above his head. Beneath his feet, the huge rift in the Celestial Motion Sect's palace in the mystic realm was closing again amidst the flashing golden light. It was like a closed door, but also like a wound that was being healed. Xia Pingan caught a glimpse of the Celestial Motion Sect's palace in the mystic realm. The experts from the Shu Long family who had barged into the palace were not ejected from the mystic realm at all. Xia Pingan saw them take out array discs and artifacts to protect themselves in the air. The array discs of the Shu Long family disciples were all linked together, forming a dragon-shaped array that floated in the air. It collided fiercely with the array of the Celestial Motion Sect's palace in the mystic realm. Amidst the flashing lightning and roaring thunder, the rift in the mystic realm's palace disappeared. Xia Pingan did not know what had happened in the mystic realm's palace. The battle between a divine descendant family and a large sect was truly terrifying. Should he return to the god-slaying bug world or try his luck on Pantheon Planet? Just as Xia Pingan was in a daze, he realized that he had been surrounded. More than 20 people had silently appeared beside him. No, it was more accurate to say that after he was ejected from the mystic realm's palace, he had accidentally landed in the middle of this group of people. These people had been guarding outside the Celestial Motion Sect's palace in the mystic realm. They wore black magician robes and a golden belt with a dragon-shaped embroidery on it. This attire was exactly the same as the experts from the Shu Long family who had just entered the Celestial Motion Sect's palace in the mystic realm. Needless to say, these people were the forces that the Shu Long family had placed outside. The people who had surrounded him looked at Xia Pingan with unfriendly gazes. Among these people, there were 3 who had the aura of the ethereal opening realm. 2 of them were old men, and the last one was a woman. The woman was the only woman among these people. She wore a green dress and was in her 20s. Her eyebrows were picturesque, and her figure was graceful. Her slightly round face still had some baby fat, and her pair of beautiful phoenix eyes were twinkling. Although her aura was that of the ethereal opening realm, her temperament was pure and innocent. The experts from the Shu Long family surrounded this woman like a moon surrounded by stars. These experts from the Shu Long family were also somewhat dumbfounded. They had originally been guarding this place as a backup force for the Shu Long family. If an accident happened to the team that had entered, they would have blasted the Celestial Motion Sect's palace from the outside to provide support of the Celestial Motion Sect's palace. If the people from the Celestial Motion Sect were running of the Celestial Motion Sects of the Mystic Realm and the others. 2. Unexpectedly, as soon as the Shu Long family's experts broke into the Sky Motion Sect's secret realm palace, the Sky Motion Sect activated their formation. Before the 2 sides even started fighting, one of them was thrown out of the Sky Motion Sect's secret realm. "Hey, who are you? How did you get thrown out by the Celestial Motion Sect's palace?" The woman asked. Her voice was as clear and elegant as a clear stream flowing through the mountains. Although the woman pretended to be fierce, her voice sounded as if she was just chatting. There was no sense of danger at all. Of course, although the woman didn't look fierce, the people around her weren't easy to deal with. Cold and oppressive gazes were all focused on Xia Pingan. Powerful divine power fluctuations were already brewing. Many people were ready to attack. In the face of this situation, Xia Pingon wasn't afraid. Instead, he revealed a surprised and relieved expression. He bowed to the people around him excitedly. "Thank you, everyone, for saving me from the Celestial Motion Sex Palace. If you hadn't come, I would have been in trouble. A few days ago, I was captured and brought here. They said they were going to extract my soul force. I was still thinking about how to escape from the Celestial Motion Sect's clutches. I didn't think that you would come. The Celestial Motion Sect activated the array in the Mystic Realm. Because I'm not a member of the Celestial Motion Sect, I was directly thrown out. You are my benefactors." The people from the Shu Long family all looked at each other when they heard this. "You're not a member of the Celestial Motion Sect?" The woman froze for a moment before asking again. "This fairy is so beautiful. One look, and I can tell that you're a clever person. How would I dare to lie to you? Of course, I'm not a member of the Sky Motion Sect. If I was, how could I have been ejected by the Sky Motion Sect's array?" When the woman heard Xia Pingon's words, her eyes smiled like crescent moons. She even revealed 2 canine teeth. She raised her chin and asked, "What did you just say?" "I said I'm not a member of the Celestial Motion Sect. Not this, but the one before that." The woman corrected him. Xia Pingon said with a serious face, "I said this fairy is so beautiful and clever. How would I dare to lie to this fairy? You don't look that good, but you have good taste." The woman laughed. "Ahem, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. I won't disturb your important matters. The mountains are high and the rivers are long. We'll meet again someday," Xiao Pingon said, and wanted to slip away. "Wait, I haven't finished asking." The woman immediately stopped Xiao Pingon. "Fairy, do you have any other questions?" "Of course. You said that the Celestial Motion Sect captured you to extract your soul power. Do you know why they want to extract your soul power? They want to use it to nourish a green flute saint artifact. Have they extracted it?" "Not yet. I don't want to. The old man who drained my soul power said that I can't use my soul power and that I have to be willing to do it. These 2 days, I've been eating and living well in the secret realm. He didn't restrict my freedom. Just now, when I went out for a stroll, I accidentally encountered the activation of the secret realm's array and was ejected out." "That sounds like it." The woman nodded and muttered to herself. "Then I'll take my leave first. If I meet you again, I'll treat you to a drink. I'll remember the kindness of the Shu Long clan. Wait." The woman stopped Xia Pingon again. She tilted her head and squinted her eyes at Xia Pingon. "There's no loophole in your words, but I feel that you're not being honest. I might have to use some tricks to make you tell the truth," the woman said with a mischievous smile. Then she took out a black bottle and said, "This is the ugly monster truth-spitting pill that I've concocted. Take one first and repeat what you said just now. If you lie, this ugly monster truth-spitting pill will take effect and you'll turn into an ugly monster with crooked eyes and a flat nose. Let's see how you're going to face people then." As the woman spoke, she was immensely proud of herself, as if the pill in her hand was incomparably powerful and invincible. When Xiao Pingon saw the woman take out a bottle from her spatial equipment, the faces of the experts of the Shu Long family around her twitched. The 2 people who were a little closer to her quietly moved to the side. Just from this movement, Xiao Pingon knew that this woman's pill wasn't very reliable. That ugliness truth pill might be able to take a person's life if they ate it. Of course, Xiao Pingon wouldn't eat the pill, but in the current situation, if he refused, he would immediately be surrounded and beaten up by the experts of the Shu Long family. "What? You don't dare to take it?" Seeing Xia Pingon hesitate, the woman became fierce again. Xia Pingon sighed. "Cough, cough. The name of the pill refined by this fairy is extremely precious. I'm already ugly enough. How ugly can I be? My current appearance is almost the same as being disfigured. I just feel that it's too wasteful to use such a precious pill on me. Why don't you keep the pill and use it when you meet those who are good-looking? Perhaps the effect will be better. It doesn't matter. I can refine this ugly monster truth-spitting pill. Don't worry, it won't kill you. At most, you'll have diarrhea for a few years," the woman said with a serious look. "Diarrhea? A few years?" Xiao Pingan finally understood why those experts from the Shu Long clan had such expressions on their faces. He sighed, "All right, then Fairy can throw the pills over." The woman directly threw the pill towards Xiao Pingan. When Xiao Pingan reached out to catch them, 10 lightning talismans flew out of his hand and exploded in the air. A series of lightning bolts exploded in the air like a large net, attracting the lightning in the surrounding void. In an instant, all the experts of the Shu Long family were enveloped in it. Chapter 611. The power of the 10 lightning talismans Xiao Pingan threw out was definitely several times greater than usual. When Xiao Pingan was chatting with the girl earlier, he had been sensing the energy state of the lightning in the surrounding void, making preparations for both sides. This kind of sensing was absolutely impossible for ordinary summoners. Only summoners whose soul power had reached a certain level could scatter their soul power into the void like a net and capture the trajectory and frequency of the lightning that was flowing in the void. It seemed to have no order or pattern, but in fact, there were still traces that could be followed. The timing and direction of the lightning talismans that Xiao Pingan threw out were perfect. The moment the lightning talismans were released, the surrounding lightning was also drawn over and became a part of the power released by Xiao Pingan's lightning talismans. In an instant, the area within a kilometer around Xiao Pingan was filled with golden snakes and thunderbolts. The dazzling white lightning directly enveloped all the experts of the Shu Long family. No one expected Xiao Pingan to dare to counterattack, and the power of his counterattack was so terrifying. In all fairness, Xiao Pingan didn't want to become enemies with a divine descendant family like the Shu Long family. However, in this situation, if he didn't take the initiative, he could only be needed by the Shu Long family. Out of the 20 or so Shu Long clan experts, more than 10 Six Sun Realm experts were caught off guard and were blasted by the dancing lightning. Their clothes were tattered, and their hair stood on end. Smoke rose from their bodies as they vomited blood and were sent flying. They had completely lost the ability to fight. The remaining 6 Sun Realm experts weren't able to completely escape the attack of the lightning. Although all kinds of magical shields and armors appeared on their bodies, they were also seriously injured by Xiao Pingan's lightning talismans. They were blasted back several hundred meters by the sizzling lightning and couldn't reinforce the encirclement for a while. The woman's face was filled with shock and a trace of anger. As the lightning flew over, the projection of a large purple bell appeared beside the woman. The projection completely protected the woman. Several bolts of lightning struck the purple bell, creating countless rays of light and rumbling sounds. A circle of invisible ripples spread in the air. There were 2 old men at the 7 Sun Realm beside the woman. At this moment, their faces were also covered in dirt. One of the old men's robes had been reduced to ashes by the lightning. He was in an extremely sorry state, revealing a section of his bare and hairy thigh. The other old man was struck by the lightning talisman that Xiao Pingan had thrown. The thickest bolt of lightning broke through several layers of his ice shield and landed on his body. He immediately spat out blood, and several of his bones broke as he was sent flying. Amidst the flashes of lightning, Xiao Pingan was like a fairy in the night sky. The golden lotus beneath his feet flickered as he stepped on the storm and lightning and charged towards the woman. When the purple bell appeared on the woman's body, even more powerful auras in the distance were alerted and immediately rushed over. The experts of the Shu Long clan outside the palace in the mystic realm were definitely not limited to this few. Therefore, if they wanted to escape today, they could only take the woman as a hostage. The woman's status in the Shu Long clan was probably not ordinary. Xiao Pingan already had a plan of action. "How dare you, thief!" The old man with the hairy leg didn't even have time to change his clothes. With a roar, he waved his hand and summoned a fire dragon more than 100 meters long. The fire dragon roared and charged towards Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan didn't want to compete with the old man in terms of spells. He completely ignored the fire dragon that the old man shot out. Golden lotuses appeared under his feet. Just as the fire dragon was about to wrap around him, he had already closed in on the woman. The other seven-sun realm expert from the Shulong clan, who had been sent flying, saw that the situation was dire. He waved his hand, and a spinning cyclone appeared in the sky. Countless huge and sharp icicles fell from the sky. They were densely packed, and as fast as lightning, they sealed off all the paths that Xia Pingon could advance. This spell to release icicles was 10 times stronger than the icicles released by ordinary summoners. Ordinary summoners released icicles from their side. However, the old man who had been sent flying by Xia Pingon's lightning could summon icicles from a distance and attack at a fixed location. It was needless to say how powerful he was. Xia Pingon didn't even bat an eyelid. He only heard the clear cry of the sky-burning vermilion bird. The sky-burning vermilion bird soared from Xia Pingon's body and spread its 10-meter-long wings. Flames soared into the sky like a resolute guardian as it welcomed the icicles. All the icicles that shot toward Xia Pingon were vaporized by the flames on the sky-burning vermilion bird's body and turned into water vapor. The sky-burning vermilion bird charged towards the cyclone that had shot out the icicles. Like a tired bird returning to its nest, it disappeared along with the cyclone amidst a huge explosion that shook the sky. With this delay, Xia Pingon had already rushed in front of the woman. The woman also saw that the situation was dire and also retreated. However, Xia Pingon was faster. The woman gritted her teeth as she pointed at Xia Pingon. Right in front of her and Xia Pingon, a huge shield higher than 10 m rushed towards Xia Pingon, intending to push Xia Pingon away. At the same time, an immortal bird with a long phoenix tail appeared below the woman's feet. Stepping on the back of the immortal bird, the woman seemed to widen the distance between her and Xia Pingon. This woman could use 2 summoning techniques at the same time. She wasn't weak among the 7-sun realm summoners. However, her opponent was Xia Pingon. The 7-star sword whip turned into a whip. The tip of the whip surpassed the speed of sound and caused everyone's eardrums to tremble. Xia Pingon angrily roared, "Break!" The power of the 7-star sword whip as a top-grade soul tool erupted and easily cut through the golden shield. At the same time, the moment the divine bird was summoned, the tip of the sword whip whistled through the air and cut through the neck of the divine bird. The shield and the divine bird dissipated at the same time. The woman was just about to move when she felt a chill on her neck. Xia Pingon was already behind her, and the 7-star sword whip had turned into a sword once more and was pressed against her neck. From Xia Pingon's sudden attack to the woman falling into Xia Pingon's hands, only an instant had passed. The situation had completely reversed, and the aftermath of the lightning in the sky had yet to completely dissipate. "Let go of the young miss." The surrounding people shouted in panic. "Don't chase after me. If you dare to chase after me, I'll use my life to exchange for your young miss. As long as I can safely leave, I'll naturally let your young miss go. If you push me too far, I can do anything." Xia Pingon sneered. His triangular eyes flashed with a chilling light. After saying that, he grabbed the woman he was holding hostage and rushed towards the rolling black fog in the distance. Chapter 612. Xia Pingon took the woman and ran, flying into the thick black fog of the spatial crack. The other members of the Shulong family could only chase after them in anger, but they didn't dare to get too close. They were afraid that Xia Pingon would kill the woman in a fit of anger. If that happened, their young miss's head would roll off. "You liar." The woman was held hostage by Xia Pingon, but her expression was very calm. She even glared at Xia Pingon angrily. "I trusted you so much just now, but you dare to hold me hostage. If you want a single hair of an animal, even if you turn into ashes, the Shulong family will find your ashes and make sure you never reincarnate." This woman was very smart. Although she said that, she didn't resist at all when Xia Pingon held her hostage. Her body was as light as a feather, without any weight. She would fly wherever Xia Pingon took her and didn't dare to cause trouble at this time. "If you keep talking nonsense, I'll feed you the ugly monster's truth-vomiting pill. Then I'll cut your face 17 or 18 times so that you can scare yourself to tears when you look in the mirror. Xia Pingon glared at the woman. A good woman doesn't fight when the odds are against her. I want to see how you will deal with this. The woman's expression changed slightly as she muttered and wisely stopped talking. There was an explosion in the air. The expert who sensed the change in the situation had already flown over from afar and chased after Xia Pingon in the blink of an eye. I don't care who you are. Let her go, and we will let you leave. An old man wearing a dark red robe rushed over from afar and shouted angrily. The old man had a lion-like nose and round eyes. His eyebrows were like black sabers, and his hair was tied up like a hedgehog. He was full of killing intent. He held a dragon-head saber in his hand and had the aura of an eighth-sun realm expert. He looked like a tyrannical and dignified person. Fourth uncle. The woman held hostage by Xia Pingon called out in grievance. Xia Pingon sneered. His long sword flashed and swept across the woman's neck. The surrounding Shu Long family members all exclaimed in shock. The woman's hair that hung down her neck was easily cut off by Xia Pingon's 7-star sword whip. The hair scattered in the air and floated towards the people of the Shu Long family. Old man, if you dare to use your domain to trap me, I will first use your family's young miss as a scapegoat. As soon as Xia Pingon spoke, the old man's expression changed. That was exactly what he had planned to do. Seeing how ruthless Xia Pingon was, the old man didn't dare to charge over. Xia Pingon had a ruthless sneer on his face, as if he was a fugitive who had been forced into a desperate situation. I originally had no enmity with your Shu Long family, and the enmity between your Shu Long family and the Sky Motion sect had nothing to do with me. However, if you want to control me, you're forcing me to risk my life with you. Let go of the young miss, I'll let you leave. The old man roared. Leave first. Once I'm safe, I will naturally let go of your young miss. I guarantee you on the honor of the Shu Long family. If you let her go, we will not pursue the matter. Ha! Do you think I'm a fool? Your Shu Long family's honor is spoken of with living people. If I let go of your young miss and become a dead person, what's the use of honor? Who knows what dirty things your Shu Long family has done? Xia Pingon didn't fall for the trap at all. All he did was lead the woman into the churning black fog and into the sky. Xia Pingon could already see that not far away, there was already a tornado-like black whirlpool of spatial turbulence spinning within the black fog. Once one entered the spatial turbulence, it would randomly teleport one to a certain place. Even those who followed behind would find it difficult to be teleported to the same place. That was the door to escape from the Shu Long family's pursuit. In the worst-case scenario, even if he was teleported to the god-slaying insect world's hive, Xia Pingon felt that with his 7-sun realm strength, he would have no problem escaping from the hive. If he was teleported to other places on Myriad God Planet, escaping wouldn't be a problem either. The entrance to the spatial turbulence was right in front of him, but the experts of the Shu Long family chased after him like wolves eyeing a piece of meat. They couldn't wait to tear Xia Pingon into pieces and grind his bones into dust. Xia Pingon laughed sinisterly. All of you stop. If you continue to chase after me, don't blame me for being rude to your young miss. I'll first show you what your young miss looks like without clothes. As he spoke, his sword flashed again. The lower part of the skirt of the woman that Xia Pingon was grabbing had already been torn to shreds, revealing a smooth and beautiful calf below the woman's knee. It was especially eye-catching in the churning black fog. The woman that Xia Pingon was grabbing exclaimed. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she looked extremely pitiful. The 8-sun realm elder was also shocked. He roared angrily and raised his hand to stop everyone. He glared at Xia Pingon with fiery eyes. Brat, if you dare to touch Shi-Er again, I swear I'll swallow you alive. Xia Pingon sneered as he glared at the elder. Old man, if you continue to chase and threaten me, I'll swallow your Shi-Er alive. Encountering a ruthless desperado like Xia Pingon, the elder really didn't dare to continue chasing. He could only watch as Xia Pingon held the woman hostage and charged into the black fog's spatial turbulence, instantly disappearing without a trace. After Xia Pingon and that woman disappeared, a group of people from the Shu Long family hurriedly charged into the spatial turbulence. They were all teleported to different places, but they couldn't see their family's young miss and that horse-faced, triangular-eyed, ruthless person. The moment Xiao Pingan entered the spatial turbulence with a woman hostage, Xiao Pingan felt like a leaf being swept up by a tornado. In the blink of an eye, he lost his sense of direction. Various colored lights flashed in front of his eyes. Lightning flashed faintly. Black fog and red fog alternated from time to time. Xiao Pingan felt as though he had entered a strange and ever-changing passageway. He fell rapidly in the spatial turbulence and didn't know where he would be swept to. In order to prevent the woman from escaping, Xiao Pingan hugged the woman from behind. His long sword was still placed on the woman's neck. He didn't dare to relax at all. The two of them flew in the spatial turbulence for about half an hour. Finally, the two of them were spat out from the spatial turbulence. They didn't land on the ground or fall into the water. The spatial turbulence brought the two of them into a void. When he saw the surroundings clearly, Xiao Pingan was shocked. His mouth opened wide. In this void, there were hundreds of millions of stars flashing overhead. There was a layer of weird red fog around them. It was as though they were in the void of the universe. In this starry sky, there was an unimaginably huge golden coffin. It was placed in the void as though it had been there for tens of thousands of years. How big was the coffin? It was as big as a mountain. The head of the coffin was facing Xiao Pingan. On the coffin, there was a huge, pale Pian character in Xiaozhuan. It was thousands of meters tall and exuded a terrifying aura. Xiao Pingan only glanced at the Pian character and felt as though he had been punched in the face. He was greatly shocked. All the divine power in his secret mandala became restless. His eyes were pierced and tears flowed down. A ghost! Xiao Pingan was still shedding tears. He hurriedly moved his gaze away from the Pian character. The woman held hostage by Xiao Pingan let out a shrill scream in panic. She fiercely grabbed Xiao Pingan's arm. Xiao Pingan was also shocked. The red fog around them gradually dispersed. In the fog beside them, there were all kinds of corpses floating in the void. They were lifeless, like dust floating on the surface of the water. Those corpses were all pale and lifelike. There were humans, ancient races, and even insects. All the corpses were staring at the huge coffin with empty eyes. Some of the corpses even had strange smiles on their faces. It was just that there was no sign of life in them. Xiao Pingan didn't notice it earlier. Now that he took a closer look, he realized that there was a sea of corpses in the red fog. No wonder the woman screamed. Now, the two of them were also floating in this sea of corpses. They were part of the sea of corpses. Not to mention the woman, even Xiao Pingan felt a chill run from the soles of his feet to his head. This place was too strange. Chapter 613. Those aren't ghosts, they're just corpses. Xiao Pingan calmed himself down and said to the woman who was clutching his sleeve tightly. He really didn't expect this young lady from the Shu Long clan to be afraid of ghosts. Summoners were afraid of ghosts. It was quite funny, but the eerie space and the floating corpses in front of him made him unable to laugh. This young lady from the Shu Long clan seemed to have forgotten that she was being held hostage by Xiao Pingan and instead relied on Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan didn't know what a ghost was. In any case, for a summoner, things like demon spirits, corpse transformation, and living souls were a piece of cake for a Seven Sun Realm summoner. They could get rid of them with a simple spell. Compared to ghosts, humans were actually more terrifying. After discovering that the floating things were corpses, the young lady from the Shu Long clan seemed to realize that she had lost her composure and hurriedly kept a distance from Xiao Pingan. However, her face was still pale. When she saw Xiao Pingan's strange gaze, she still tried to defend herself. I'm actually not afraid of these things. I've seen many corpses. I just didn't see clearly. There seems to be something behind you. Why did it float over? Xiao Pingan stared at the woman as if there really was something behind her. The woman screamed like a frightened rabbit. She grabbed Xiao Pingan's sleeve tightly and hurriedly squeezed her way to Xiao Pingan's side. Then, The woman looked behind her and realized that there was nothing behind her. She realized that she had been tricked and glared at Xia Pingon angrily. "You liar." So this woman is afraid of these things. Xia Pingon laughed in his heart. He felt that he had grasped this woman's weakness. Then Xia Pingon put on a straight face and stretched out a hand. "Okay, enough nonsense. Take out all the valuable things in your spatial equipment. Magic tools, sacred tools, and especially realm pearls. You know that you're not my match, so stop struggling. If you make me angry, I'll cut your face 17 or 18 times. You're robbing?" The woman looked at Xia Pingon in shock. "Shouldn't I?" Xia Pingon said somewhat viciously. "If I fell into the hands of your Shulong clan, your Shulong clan would probably search me all over. I'm just returning the favor." "You're right. Isn't it just some valuable things?" "Okay, here you go." The woman moved her hand and took out a fine soul tool sword. Then she took out more than 10 realm pearls and hundreds of colorful bottles and jars and stuffed them all to Xia Pingon. Of the dozen or so realm beads, Xia Pingon realized that there was only one he hadn't fused with yet. It was a soul armament sword, but it wasn't as good as the heptagram sword whip. There were also several hundred bottles of various colors that seemed to be filled with medicines. None of them had any names on them, only numbers and drawings of cats, dogs, insects, flowers, and birds. Xia Pingon had no idea what was in them, but he had no idea what was in them. Looking at them, Xia Pingon felt like his head was about to explode. "That's it. I have some women's things in my space. There's also some food and water. Do you want them too?" The woman glared at Xia Pingon in dissatisfaction. Her lips were already pouting. "I never bring money when I go out. Those realm pearls are the spoils of war I got from killing those insects. I'll give them all to you. Those bottles are the pills I refined. The sword is my soul tool. What else do you want?" Xia Pingon rolled his eyes. "Didn't you have a purple bell on you before? What was that?" "That's the seed of my Shu Long clan's 7 Seas bell. It's in my sea of knowledge, so I can't take it out." It seemed like the woman really didn't have anything else on her. Xia Pingon curled his lips and put away the realm pearls. Then he tossed the bottles and soul tools to the woman. "All right, I'll give these back to you. You can use them to protect yourself. I'm a man of my word. Since your Shulong clan didn't chase after me, then we're even. If you still want to cause trouble for me, then don't blame me for being impolite." With that, Xia Pingon flew towards a nearby corpse. Since he was already here, Xia Pingon wanted to see if he could get something good out of the corpse. It would be best if he could get some realm pearls or something. The woman blinked. She hadn't expected Xia Pingon to try and rob her like that. She had been worried that something worse would happen, but she had already made preparations. If this man dared to do anything disgusting to her, she would have taken him down with her. But in the blink of an eye, Xia Pingon had returned everything to her. He didn't even want her soul armament sword to protect herself. This man wasn't as vicious as he seemed. Even when he tried to kidnap her, he didn't seem to be the type of person who would do anything to disrespect her. He didn't even try to disrespect her when he tried to kidnap her. After Xia Pingon flew away, the woman looked at the strange floating corpses around her and couldn't help but shiver. She put away her things and chased after Xia Pingon. "What are you doing?" Xia Pingon looked at the woman who chased after him. "This place isn't a good place. It's a bit like the graveyard of a fallen god. It's a place of great danger. There might be unknown dangers here. Let's write off our previous grudges. If we work together, we'll have a better chance of getting out," the woman said to Xia Pingon with a serious face. Xia Pingon had a whole new level of respect for this woman. This woman's mind was too clear. She even had the magnanimity and wit of a disciple of a big clan. Seeing that the situation was not right, she didn't care about their previous grudges and immediately chose to work together. If it was an ordinary woman, she might still be in a dilemma. Xia Pingon had wanted to work together with this woman before, but he didn't say it, because he was worried that if this woman agreed verbally but didn't in her heart, the knot in her heart would worsen. If this woman stayed by his side, she would be a burden and an unstable factor. It was better for him to be alone. Since this woman was so sensible, it was exactly what Xia Pingon wanted. When the woman caught up with him, Xiao Pingon had already arrived in front of a floating corpse. Xiao Pingon didn't check it himself. Instead, he summoned an assassin and had the assassin lean over to check if there was anything abnormal with the corpse. The LV-7 sinking star assassin approached a corpse that looked like a summoner's corpse. He stretched out his dagger and lightly touched the corpse. The corpse dissipated like quicksand. At the same time, a red mist floated out of the corpse. The powerful LV-7 sinking star assassin was surrounded by the red mist and instantly turned into light and dissipated. F***CK. Xiao Pingon was startled. Fortunately, he was cautious and didn't touch the corpse himself. If he had touched the corpse, he might have been in danger. God eroding miasma, the woman suddenly screamed, her face changing dramatically. Don't touch these corpses. Chapter 614. The woman's voice was sharp and her face was filled with fear. She was completely different from the calm she was when she was kidnapped by Xiao Pingon. Even when she said the words God eroding miasma, Xiao Pingon could hear her voice trembling. God eroding miasma. Xiao Pingon frowned. He looked at the corpses floating in the starry sky and sucked in a breath of cold air. What is this? The woman's expression had completely changed. She looked at the corpses around her and was extremely vigilant. She nervously swallowed her saliva and already held her soul tool, sword in her hand. It was as if some monster would pounce out of the starry sky. The God eroding miasma isn't anything. It's a kind of insect poison. Insect poison? Is it that terrifying? You don't know. Those insects are corpse bugs that were born near the corpses of fallen gods. The poisonous miasma that those corpse bugs spit out can melt everything. Even the corpses of gods can be corroded and melted. Aren't these corpses still fine? The God eroding miasma's characteristic is that it can corrode the corpses of gods. But for mortals below the level of gods, the God eroding miasma can make their corpses look fine. It's as if they have been frozen in time. Just touching them will cause them to die. As the woman spoke, she pointed at the corpses floating in the starry sky and the huge coffin. I just felt that this place was the graveyard of a fallen god. Now that the God eroding miasma has appeared, I can basically confirm that there might be a corpse of a god in that coffin. You're saying that there's a corpse of a god in that coffin? Xiao Pingon's mind shook. He felt the adrenaline in his body rapidly soar. He suddenly became excited. He didn't know what kind of power a god had, but from the power he saw displayed by a demigod expert, he knew that a true god was definitely more terrifying. Although this place was strange and terrifying, it could also mean a great harvest. Seeing Xiao Pingon's sparkling eyes and suddenly excited face, the woman looked at Xiao Pingon as if she was looking at a madman. Her heart was pounding as she vigilantly asked, "What do you want to do?" Xiao Pingon licked his lips and asked, "Do you think there's God eroding miasma and corpse bugs in that coffin?" The woman seemed to have guessed what Xiao Pingon wanted to do. She glanced at the mountain-like coffin and shook her head slightly. That coffin looks undamaged. If there is a god's corpse inside, it will remain immortal for billions of years. The corpse worms that are born because they sense the god's corpse can only be born outside the coffin. The coffin is there to prevent the corpse worms from invading. Unless the coffin is destroyed by a stronger force, the corpse worms will not be able to enter the coffin and corrode the god's corpse. Isn't the corpse bugs, god-corroding miasma, very powerful? Why didn't it corrode the coffin? Xiao Pingon continued to ask. This woman knew too much. She was indeed a descendant of a divine descendant clan. She had a profound family knowledge and was 100 times better than him, who had become a spacewalker halfway. The coffin of the deity is made of chaotic heavenly star redwood, which can only grow in the divine realm. It's one of the divine trees in the divine realm. It can restrain the corpse worms that are born after sensing the deity's corpse and prevent them from getting close to the deity's corpse. As the woman spoke, her eyes were still vigilantly looking around. Her tone was a little anxious. We have to find a way to leave this place quickly. The corpses here should have been killed by the corpse worms after entering the tomb of the god of sin for some reason over the years. Look, aren't I trying to find a way out? Xiao Pingon said as he rapidly moved away from the place where he had just been. He came to a place slightly further away from a floating blue-winged flaming bug and summoned his LV-7 sinking star assassin once again. When a woman who had followed Xia Pingon saw Xia Pingon summon another assassin, she was stunned. "What are you doing?" "There might be a realm pearl inside the bug's corpse. I'm trying to see if I can get 2 realm pearls. This winged flaming bug is in the Nether Passage realm. Maybe it has a rare realm pearl?" "You're crazy." The woman looked at Xia Pingon as if he was crazy. Her beautiful eyes widened in shock and anger. "You're still thinking about realm pearls at this time? Even if there's a realm pearl inside the bug's body, it would have been corroded by the god eroding miasma. The realm pearl can't escape. I always think about realm pearls. You're a well-fed person who doesn't know the suffering of the starving. I'm just making sure. What if there are more realm pearls?" "Don't be so excited," Xia Pingon said as the assassin he had summoned flew to the side of the huge winged flaming bug. He stretched out his dagger and touched the body of the winged flaming bug. Just like before, the lifelike, statue-like winged flaming bug turned into quicksand and dissipated in the air. Nothing was left behind. Then, a red mist emerged from the body of the winged flaming bug and wrapped around the assassin. In the blink of an eye, the assassin turned into light and dissipated. Xia Pingon looked at the floating corpses in the starry sky and sighed. What a pity. In Xia Pingon's opinion, if the realm pearls inside the bug's body were still there, he should be able to obtain many realm pearls here. It would be a great harvest. However, he didn't expect that the god eroding miasma of the corpse bug could even corrode realm pearls. "Crazy," the woman cursed. "Okay, now you tell me how we should leave this place. You should have some clues, right?" Xia Pingon asked calmly. Since they couldn't obtain anything from the corpses, they should consider how to leave this place. "Do you really think I know everything?" "I've only read about the graveyard of the fallen gods in the notes of my family elders." The woman looked a little distressed and a little scared as she looked at this strange space. She frowned and thought carefully. This is a special space where the coffins of the fallen gods are stored. It's like a special void mystic realm. It's almost sealed off from the outside world. Aside from the turbulence of space, there shouldn't be any other way out. You're saying that we should look for the entrance to the turbulence of space here? Xia Pingon looked around and frowned. "I feel like the turbulence of space here can only send us in. It can't take us out. If there's no turbulence of space and we don't have the strength of a demigod, then the only way to leave this place is..." The woman pointed at the mountain-like coffin and said seriously, "That coffin is the passage to leave this place. We have to find a way to enter that coffin to find the way out." Chapter 615. In truth, when Xia Pingon summoned the assassin for the first time, Xia Pingon had also summoned the boy fortune god. He had the boy fortune god search this strange space to see if there was any way to leave. As Xia Pingon searched for the realm pearl, he also maintained a high degree of vigilance towards this strange environment. The boy fortune god was not afraid of the heavens or the earth. But this time, the boy fortune god was extremely cautious in this place, not daring to approach the god eroding miasma at all. This made Xia Pingon know that the god eroding miasma could threaten the boy fortune god. There was indeed no exit here, nor was there a passage to the chaotic flow of space. As the boy fortune god flew closer, he discovered that the stars in the sky were not stars at all. Instead, they were balls of pale, white, ghostly fire. These ghostly fire flickered, and within these ghostly fire, there were illusions of twisted faces that corresponded to the floating corpses. It was like souls that could not be purified were trapped here. And behind these ghostly fire was an invisible and dark wall. Even the boy fortune god could not pass through it. In the blink of an eye, the boy fortune god arrived in front of the mountain-like coffin. He flew around the coffin, but he was also unable to find the entrance. The woman saw Xia Pingon move his hand and take out the soul calming banner. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "What are you doing?" "Of course I'm calming the souls." Xia Pingon was busy with the corpses. He sighed and waved the soul calming banner. He began to chant, "The heart of the heavens is benevolent. The body melts with metal. mixed together, repeatedly rising and falling. Also has the nature of the ancestor, deep and serene fortune. Obtain wood to extract gold, gold to remove wood, no longer invade. Transform into a wandering soul, deep in one's heart. Obscure time, difficult to find traces. Appear from nothingness, penetrate past and present. Calm the soul from the soul, the soul from the soul, the God from the ghost, the kingdom of heaven. Following the wave of the soul-pacifying banner, rays of light shot out from the banner and shone directly on the floating corpses. The pale white ghost fire that filled the sky was like eyes that had closed in peace. It gradually extinguished and closed, turning into specks of golden light that melted into the darkness of the horizon. When Xia Pingan finished his soul-calming ritual, the stars in the sky had all disappeared. In this strange space, besides the floating corpses and the mountain-like coffin, there was nothing else. I didn't know that you would care about the people who died here. The woman seemed to know Xia Pingan for the first time. Xia Pingan spread out his hands. I was forced to be an evil person. Humph, don't be so sarcastic. Who told you to come out from the secret realm of the Sky Motion sect? Shu Longxi snorted, seeming to be a little interested in Xia Pingan. Let's get to know each other. I'm Shu Longxi. What's your name? My surname is Mei. You can call me Mei Zhong. Xia Pingan said as he flew towards the huge coffin. It seems that there really is no other way out. We can only see how to enter the coffin. Shu Longxi nodded and followed Xia Pingan towards the mountain-like huge coffin. After a short while, the two of them arrived above the huge coffin. Looking down from above, the top of the huge coffin was simply like a smooth and flat land. It was too big. Moreover, every part of the coffin was completely integrated. There was not a single gap to be found. Flying above the coffin, Xia Pingan felt like a mosquito flying on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. The two of them flew around the coffin for a while, but couldn't find a way to enter it. Xia Pingan directly landed on the top of the coffin. Bang! Bang! Xia Pingan stepped on the coffin under his feet. The coffin only made two soft sounds. The sound didn't spread far and could only be heard under his feet. The texture of the coffin was neither gold nor wood. It was dull and heavy and had the temperament of the earth. Get out of the way. Xia Pingan's face turned serious. He took out the 7-star sword whip and turned it into a huge sword. Holding the sword with both hands, he fiercely chopped towards the coffin under his feet. Boom! A ball of black light exploded where the huge sword chopped down. Xia Pingan only felt his wrist tremble. A huge force that was almost the same as the force he used to chop the coffin was transmitted from the sword. It directly shook his entire body and sent him flying dozens of meters high. His shoulders were somewhat numb. Xia Pingan landed and looked at the place where the huge sword chopped down. There wasn't even a shallow mark on the huge coffin. It was still smooth and heavy. Damn! Xia Pingan sucked in a breath of cold air. He had used a top-grade soul weapon just now, and his strength wasn't weak. That sword just now could cut through gold and iron like tofu. Even if the alloy in front of him was the size of a house, Xia Pingan was confident that he could cut through it. But that attack didn't even leave a hair-sized mark. This almost meant that all physical attacks were ineffective against this coffin that might contain the corpse of a god. If metal couldn't subdue wood, then he would try fire. With a thought, Xia Pingan summoned the heaven-burning vermilion bird. The moment the heaven-burning vermilion bird was summoned, it let out a clear cry. The temperature of the entire space seemed to rise. In a flash of light, the heaven-burning vermilion bird spread its wings and swooped down from the sky like a flaming meteor. It heavily slammed into the place where Xia Pingan's huge sword had chopped down, releasing the highest temperature possible. Under the raging flames, the surrounding air twisted. This temperature was enough to melt gold and iron. A moment later, the heaven-burning vermilion bird turned into a rain of fire and dissipated. Xia Pingan returned to the place where the heaven-burning vermilion bird had landed. The color and shape of that place hadn't changed at all. It was still smooth, black, and heavy. Xia Pingan touched it with his hand. Even the temperature was the same as before. If the primal chaos heavenly star of the god realm could be destroyed so easily, then we probably wouldn't be able to see this coffin now. Those corpses must have tried all sorts of methods to open this place when they were alive, but none of them succeeded. Among those corpses, there was no lack of summoners and insectoids above the ethereal opening realm. Shu Longxi had been watching from the side. Only now did she take the initiative to speak. Where's the god realm? Xiao Pingan's heart skipped a beat and he asked directly. This is the secret of the various large sects and families. You want to get information from me? Don't take me for a fool. Shu Longxi said vigilantly. All right, you're not a fool. You're very smart, very smart. Shu Longxi felt that Xiao Pingan didn't seem to be praising her, but she couldn't find fault with his words. She could only glare at him fiercely. You can go elsewhere and ask about the god realm. Let's see who will tell you. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Xiao Pingan smacked his lips and looked around. Didn't you say there were corpse bugs? It doesn't seem like there are. Could those corpse bugs be dead? The god-eroding miasma is still active, which means those corpse bugs aren't dead yet. There must be corpse bugs here. Shu Longxi's beautiful brows furrowed as she looked around. Unless what? Unless it's not time for the corpse bugs to appear yet. When will the corpse bugs appear? I don't know. I've read the notes of the elders in my family. The appearance of corpse bugs has a pattern. Most corpse bugs will appear at night. There's no difference between day and night here. But the secret realm here corresponds to the outside world. If we can't find a way to leave before the corpse bugs appear, I'm afraid the two of us will become the same as those corpses. You've really screwed me over this time. Shu Longxi bitterly smiled. I don't want to die here. Let's look around. There must be a way to leave this place. Xiao Pingan said. He pulled himself together and flew up. He searched around the mountain-like giant coffin. He knocked here and touched there as if he was an archaeologist. Child of Fortune wasn't idle either. He also scurried around this space, looking for a way to leave this place. Shu Longxi wasn't idle either. With a wave of her hand, she summoned thousands of colorful butterflies. Those colorful butterflies spread out like clouds and flew around this space and the giant coffin, looking for a chance to leave this place. For the next 7 or 8 hours, Xiao Pingan used all kinds of methods, but still couldn't find a way to leave this place. As time went by, Xiao Pingan also found that the faintly discernible red fog around the corpses began to gather. As the red fog began to gather, Child of Fortune felt afraid for the first time. He ran to Xiao Pingan's side and went into the secret mandala, unwilling to come out. Shu Longxi also nervously looked at the changes in the fog. Let me try this. Xiao Pingan held on to the slightest hope. He cut his wrist and sprinkled his blood on the coffin. He sprinkled his blood on the giant Pian word on the coffin. Unfortunately, the coffin didn't change at all. The red mist kept shrinking. Suddenly, the red mist shook, and a 2-meter-long red insect drilled out of the red mist. Half of its body stood up, and it was rotating, as if it was investigating the surrounding situation. It wasn't just one, but more and more insects drilled out from the void behind the red fog. Densely packed. Corpse. Insects. Shu Longxi's voice was trembling, and there was a trace of sobbing. You big bad guy. I'm really going to die because of you this time. Looking at those things, Xiao Pingan's scalp went numb. Because those corpse insects looked like maggots that had been magnified many times. Red maggots. Those corpse insects didn't have heads, eyes, nose, or ears. Their bodies also looked soft. They wriggled and floated in the void, crawling towards him and Shu Longxi. Without waiting for those corpse insects to crawl over, Xiao Pingan made his move. He waved his hand, and the burning sky vermilion bird was summoned once again. It spread its wings like a meteor and flew towards those corpse insects. In just an instant, more than 10 corpse insects were burned to ashes by the burning sky vermilion bird's flames. This didn't seem difficult to deal with. Xiao Pingan was stunned for a moment. But in the blink of an eye, Xiao Pingan's pupils fiercely shrank. Those ashes that were burned to ashes by the burning sky vermilion bird once again gathered in the air and turned into a cocoon. In the blink of an eye, The cocoon broke and corpse insect crawled out, unharmed. Chapter 616. The corpse bugs surged towards the two of them. They were not fast and even looked slow, but their steady rhythm made one's scalp tingle. Any attack that landed on the corpse bugs could temporarily kill them, but after a short period of time, the corpse bugs would revive and surge towards the two of them. No attack could stop the corpse bugs from approaching. They were swarming towards them from all directions. Xiao Pingan summoned a huge Xuanwu. When a Xuanwu flew out, snow began to fall within a 1-kilometer radius, turning it into a world of ice and snow. After a black breath, hundreds of corpse bugs turned into ice sculptures, shattered, and turned into dregs. They would then revive and surge towards the two of them like a red wave of despair. Xiao Pingan and Shu Longxi fought side by side. Shu Longxi summoned a 100-meter-long serpent. The serpent had a pair of wings on its back. It opened its mouth and swallowed hundreds of corpse bugs into its stomach. However, the serpent did not last long. After a few minutes, the serpent's stomach was split open and corpse bugs crawled out of its stomach. The serpent turned into light and dissipated. Xiao Pingan summoned the level 7 falling star assassin again. The falling star assassin flew through the air like a strange shadow. The dagger in its hand was sharp and swift. It was like an electric light that burst out from the darkness. It slid through the corpse bugs and cut through their fat, wriggling bodies, turning them into pieces. However, in the blink of an eye, the corpse bugs' fragments began to gather and regenerate. New corpse bugs crawled out and continued to approach the two of them. As the battle began, red flames appeared on the corpse bugs' bodies. Xiao Pingan waved his hand, and dozens of fireballs flew out and bombarded the corpse bugs at the front. When the fireballs that could injure and incinerate the corpse bugs flew close to the corpse bugs, they immediately dissipated into a red mist and dissipated in this space. Xiao Pingan finally knew where the red mist in this space came from. The corpses from before had also fought with these corpse worms before they turned into corpses. However, the last traces of their battle were the red fog. The falling star assassin summoned by Xiao Pingan approached another corpse bug and stabbed out with his dagger. Being surrounded by the red flame on the corpse bug, the LV7 falling star assassin turned into light and dissipated, no longer able to harm those corpse bugs. All attacks on these corpse bugs will be ineffective after 1 or 2 attacks. The fire on these corpse bugs will adapt to all attacks and neutralize all attacks. As Shu Longxi spoke, she waved her hand and summoned a thundercloud. Terrifying lightning bolts and thunderbolts flashed into space, turning dozens of corpse worms into dust. However, the dust only existed for a short while. After a short while, the corpse worms came back to life from their cocoons. Not only that, but when the lightning bolts fell again, they were blocked by the red flame on the corpse worms. A few corpse worms crawled into the thundercloud. In the blink of an eye, the thundercloud melted and turned into a red fog that dissipated. Xiao Pingan also discovered that these corpse worms were not only unkillable, but they could also quickly evolve and adapt to their attacks. The attacks that had been effective before quickly became ineffective against these corpse worms. These corpse worms were too terrifying. Fortunately, these corpse worms were only born in this strange space near the corpses of the god spirits. There are not many of them. If these corpse worms could reproduce like humans or the Zerg, the world would be ruled by these corpse worms. The corpse worms wriggled and slowly approached. It was simply despairing. If he could not think of a way, he and Shu Longxi would become floating corpses in this space. After Xuanwu and Vermilion Bird attacks were ineffective against the corpse worms, Xiao Pingan waved his hand and summoned a huge white tiger flashing with silver light. This was the first time Xiao Pingan had summoned the white tiger, one of the 4 sacred beasts. The 10-meter-long white tiger was flashing with a sharp golden aura. The summoned white tiger raised its head and let out a roar before charging towards the corpse worms. With a roar, a metal storm rolled up in the void. The storm carried a sharp aura like millions of sharp blades. Wherever the white tiger went, All the corpse worms within 100 meters of the white tiger were cut into pieces as if they had been chopped by countless guillotines. The attacks of the corpse worms temporarily slowed down. The corpse worms still needed some time to adapt to the white tiger's attack. You can actually summon the white tiger sacred beast. Shu Longxi, who was fighting, looked at Xia Pingan in surprise. At this time, Shu Longxi had summoned dozens of strange birds that flew around the two of them to resist the attacks of the corpse worms. Let's retreat behind the giant coffin. Okay. Shu Longxi nodded and flew back to the head of the coffin with Xia Pingan. They leaned against the giant word foundation and fought. With the giant coffin as a support, the corpse bugs couldn't corrode the coffin. The two of them only needed to face the corpse bugs in front of them, which greatly reduced the pressure. You hold off the corpse worms for a while. I'll think of a way. Xia Pingan waved his hand and summoned the ghost rattan. The ghost rattan appeared and disappeared unpredictably in the space. In an instant, it turned into a vine barrier full of thorns outside the two of them and slowed down the speed of the corpse worms. What idea do you have? Shu Longxi waved her hand and summoned a huge shield to block the ghost rattan barrier and fight the enemy with Xia Pingan. I don't know. If my idea doesn't work, I'm afraid you'll die here with me today. Xia Pingan said in a deep voice. Don't jinx it. Who wants to die with you? If we really die, you'll owe me a life in your next life. Shu Longxi scolded, but she was not careless. With a wave of her hand, a large dam appeared in front of her. Rolling water gushed out of the dam and swept towards the corpse worms around them, washing them away. The time to fight for their lives had arrived. As an important figure of the Shu Longxi family, Shu Longxi's strength began to show. Seeing that Shu Longxi could still hold on, Xia Pingan no longer paid attention to the battle. With a wave of his hand, a man as elegant as a woman with a long beard was summoned by Xia Pingan. This was Cui Hao, a fierce person who had mastered powerful divination methods. Xia Pingan did not know divination, but Cui Hao did. Where's the way out? Xia Pingan asked Cui Hao directly. Cui Hao's wise and profound eyes swept across the corpse worms in front of him, then looked at the huge coffin behind him. He closed his eyes and moved his hands, taking out a tortoise shell. Then, he waved his hands and a bonfire appeared in front of him. He put the tortoise shell on the bonfire and slowly burned it. Shu Longxi was really shocked. This Mei Zheng in front of her seemed to be at the 7th Sun Realm, but this guy could summon things that many 8th Sun Realm summoners might not be able to summon. She wondered how many trump cards he had. There were only a handful of summoners who could summon diviners. Even in the history of the Shu Longxi family, it had only appeared once. The battle did not stop. Xia Pingan's white tiger and ghost rattan had already dissipated, and a large number of corpse worms were approaching. Cui Hao was slowly burning the tortoise shell at a speed that could make one anxious to death. Shu Longxi gritted her teeth and held on because she felt that just as Cui Hao was burning the tortoise shell for divination, Xia Pingan's divine power was fluctuating violently. His entire divine power was rapidly flowing into the fire to support the burning of the fire. Xia Pingan's expression was grave. He was definitely not more relaxed than her. This kind of life-saving divination at a critical moment was also very taxing on a summoner. It was not something that could be done just by summoning a single diviner. Divine power was the foundation of divination. The more important the problem, the more divine power it would consume. Seeing the corpse worms approaching, Shu Longxi gritted her teeth and threw out a formation disc. It formed a large array to protect her and Xia Pingan. The formation disc that she threw out shone brightly, but in front of the corpse worms, it sizzled. The light of the formation disc was quickly being corroded by the red flames on the corpse worms. In just a moment, Xia Pingan's divine power was consumed like flowing water. More than 2,000 points were poured into the fire burning the tortoise shell. Xia Pingan's expression changed. This kind of divination was definitely extravagant. But finally, just as the formation disc that Shu Longxi threw out was on the verge of collapse, the tortoise shell in Cui Hao's hand was burning. With a pop, it finally cracked open. Strange patterns appeared on the tortoise shell. Chui Hao looked at the patterns on the tortoise shell and closed his eyes. He held the tortoise shell in one hand and formed hand seals with the other to quickly calculate. Finally, Chui Hao opened his eyes and only said 4 words. The path to survival lies in the soul. After saying these 4 words, Chui Hao then disappeared. The summoned diviner occupied one task at a time. If he wanted to divine again, he would have to summon it again. The path to survival lies in the soul. What did that mean? What was the soul? Could it be soul power? Or was it related to the spiritual realm? The only things that he could grasp now were soul power and soul tools. These corpse worms couldn't be killed by simple soul tools. Could it be? Xiao Pingon was dumbfounded. His mind was quickly calculating. Those corpse worms are rushing over. Shu Longxi exclaimed. Boom! The formation disk that Shu Longxi threw out finally collapsed at this moment. It was corroded and melted by the corpse worms. The corpse worms that rushed over suddenly appeared in front of the 2 of them like a tide. They wriggled and squeezed over. Shu Longxi's expression completely changed. If the man beside her didn't do anything, then the 2 of them would really be finished. Just as the corpse worms rushed over, Xiao Pingon's eyes flashed and he roared, "Slash!" As soon as he said that, a majestic son of heaven appeared in front of Xiao Pingon. He pulled out the son of heaven's sword and slashed at the corpse worms. This slash of the son of heaven's sword not only consumed Xiao Pingon's divine power, but also the soul power he injected. The resplendent sword soared through the sky. It was unparalleled and carried a mighty aura. The soul power that Xiao Pingon injected into it even coated the might of the Son of Heaven's sword with a layer of magnificent and dazzling golden brilliance. The corpse worms that surged over were swept away by the Son of Heaven's sword and turned into ashes. The other corpse worms no longer surged forward. Instead, they seemed to have smelled something terrifying and hurriedly retreated in fear. It was as though they had met their nemesis. They immediately retreated in front of the 2 of them and didn't dare to approach anymore. The corpse worms that had turned into ashes didn't revive. Instead, they turned into red beads that floated in the void. Why did the corpse worms in front of them retreat? In that move, just now, the aura of the Son of Heaven's sword that this man summoned seemed to be slightly different from the Son of Heaven's sword she had seen before. The destroyed corpse worms didn't recover and had turned into strange beads. Could it be that they were killed? Shu Longxi was dumbfounded. What was going on? Someone could actually kill the corpse worms? If Shu Longxi hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she definitely wouldn't have believed that the corpse worms could be killed. These corpse worms couldn't be killed even in the domain of an 8th Sun Realm expert. Even if they entered the divine kingdom of a demigod, they could only be sealed and not killed. However, this somewhat ferocious-looking, nameless summoner beside her actually killed the corpse worms? The mountain-like coffin behind the 2 of them seemed to have sensed something at this moment. As though it had been awakened, the pale foundation word began to glow. Chapter 617. The word memorial on the mountain-like coffin began to glow. At first, the light was blurry, illuminating the void. Following that, the light began to slowly spin, turning into black and white. It gradually turned into the shape of a Taiji symbol. The Taiji symbol gave Xiao Pingon the feeling of a spatial tunnel. Xiao Pingon was also extremely shocked. He did not expect that the addition of his soul power into the Son of Heaven's sword to kill the corpse bugs would cause the giant coffin to change. Previously, when he was investigating the giant coffin, he had injected some soul power into it, but the giant coffin did not react. Perhaps it was because he could kill the corpse bugs that caused these changes. Regardless, this was a good thing. Xiao Pingon looked at the corpse bugs he had killed, turning into hundreds of beads floating in the void. He had an idea and summoned the demonic vines again. The demonic vines transformed into thousands of tentacles. In an instant, they grabbed all the red beads scattered in the void. Shu Longxi found it strange that the corpse bugs had turned into dark red beads. Although she did not know what those beads were, they were completely formed from corpse bugs that could not be killed. They were probably not ordinary objects. She was about to secretly take 2 beads to see what was so special about them when the demonic vines suddenly appeared beside her and wrapped around the few beads beside her. Shu Longxi hurriedly wanted to grab them, but in the next 0.1 seconds, with a whoosh, Shu Longxi heard a soft sound, and all the demonic vines retracted back into Xia Pingan's secret mandala. The beads were all gone. Shu Longxi gritted her teeth. But before she could say anything, a powerful suction force was produced from the rotating yin-yang fish on the giant coffin. She and Xia Pingan were sucked into the rotating light at the same time and disappeared from space. After the 2 of them disappeared, the space once again became dark and eerie. Aside from the floating corpses, the corpse worms that appeared here once again wriggled over. However, because there was no one here, the corpse worms wandered around for a while before slowly dispersing. Where is this? When the black light in front of him dissipated, Xia Pingan looked at the scene in front of him and was once again dumbfounded. What appeared in front of him was a boundless desert. As far as the eye could see, it was a stretch of sand dunes that stretched endlessly. There were 10 black suns above his head. The black suns were burning, roasting every grain of sand in the desert. In addition to the sun, there was also wind, blowing from one direction for an unknown number of years. It pushed the sand dunes like waves in the sea, forming an undulating landscape. Shu Longxi was also standing beside Xia Pingan. She raised her head in surprise and looked around at the endless desert. After thinking for a while, she said, "This should be the inside of the huge coffin. The inside of the huge coffin should be a space of its own. This is a miniature version of the immortal realm. Seeing that there were no more corpse bugs here, it seemed that there was no danger." Xia Pingan let out a long sigh and smiled. "I see. I didn't expect you to know so much. I just learned it from my family." Shu Longxi gently combed the hair on her temples. Her beautiful eyes suddenly narrowed into beautiful crescents. She smiled at Xia Pingan, revealing her snow-white teeth. Her voice suddenly became soft. Those corpse bugs turned into red beads." Xia Pingan didn't wait for Shu Longxi to finish and directly interrupted, saying 2 words with emphasis. "Mine." Shu Longxi gritted her teeth, but she still smiled. "You have so many beads. Give me some. I haven't seen those corpse bugs turn into beads, okay?" Shu Longxi's voice was soft. She actually grabbed Xia Pingan's arm and acted coquettishly in front of Xia Pingan. "I'm not your grandpa. Miss, this trick of yours is useless against me." Xia Pingan laughed. "If you want those beads, you can show me the secret notes of your Shu Longxi ancestors. I can consider giving you 2 beads." To be honest, Xia Pingan didn't know what those beads were for. However, his thoughts were the same as Shu Longxi's. Those corpse bugs that were so difficult to deal with would definitely turn into something extraordinary. It was really lucky that they could escape alive this time. As the saying goes, one who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later on. Perhaps those red beads were his good fortune later on. "I also had a share in the battle just now." "Okay, you have a share? Go pick up your beads. Don't even think about taking mine. We are now in a cooperative relationship. Everyone's spoils of war belong to each other. This is the basic principle." Shu Longxi was speechless and stomped her foot. "Stingy, miss, this stingy guy just saved your life. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have come here. You still have the face to say, if it wasn't for your Shu Longxi family, I wouldn't have come here." Xia Pingan said and tried to fly. However, just as he was about to fly, he found that his ability to fly was restricted by an even more powerful force. He couldn't fly at all and could only walk on the ground. Shu Longxi probably also found out that she couldn't fly here, and her expression changed slightly. The 2 of them looked at each other again. They were in the middle of the desert, and it was boundless everywhere. It was hard to distinguish north, south, east, and west. Shu Longxi said to Xia Pingan, "That diviner you just summoned, can you summon him again to divine the auspicious location? This sea of desert is boundless. If we can't find the right direction, we may have to trudge here for who knows how long. I've used up a lot of my divine power. I'm not strong enough now." Do you have any pills to replenish my divine power? Help me share some of the burden. Xiao Pingan asked directly. Shu Longxi's hand moved, and a bottle suddenly appeared in her hand. She threw it to Xiao Pingan. Here, this is for you. This is our Shu Longxi family's best quality, full spirit pill. Xiao Pingan looked at the bottle and found that it didn't have the strange patterns and words of flowers, birds, fish, and insects on Shu Longxi's other bottles. The 3 words full spirit pill on the bottle were very bold. He opened the bottle and poured out 7 or 8 pills. If the bottle still had those unreliable patterns, Xiao Pingan wouldn't eat it. Have you eaten a full spirit pill or not? This full spirit pill can replenish 3,600 points of divine power. You poured out so much at once. Aren't you afraid of being stuffed to death? Shu Longxi shouted from the side. Sorry, I haven't eaten it. Xiao Pingan chuckled and put the pills back into the bottle, leaving only a fragrant pill. He ate it in one bite and then put the whole bottle of full spirit pills into his spatial equipment with a normal expression. Stingy man. Shu Longxi watched from the side and only muttered. She didn't ask Xiao Pingan to return the pills. The full spirit pill was indeed worthy of its reputation. Almost as soon as Xiao Pingan swallowed it, the divine power in the secret mandala temple's sky dome caisson boiled and gushed out like a fountain. In the blink of an eye, it replenished Xiao Pingan with 3,600 points of divine power. Xiao Pingan summoned Cui Hao again. After consuming more than 700 points of divine power, Cui Hao used the tortoise shell to divine again and pointed in a direction for Xiao Pingan and the others, the direction where the wind was blowing. Now that they had a direction and couldn't fly, Xiao Pingan and Shu Longxi walked in that direction. In this boundless desert, they left 2 rows of footprints side by side. After walking in silence for a while, Shu Longxi couldn't help but ask, by the way, why was the Emperor's sword that you summoned able to kill those corpse bugs? Xiao Pingan's face was serious as he played dumb. I don't know either. Maybe the Emperor's sword just happened to restrain those corpse bugs. Liar, I clearly felt that the Emperor's sword's aura was a little different when you summoned it. Is that so? You were probably too nervous at that time, causing your eyes to blur or your senses to be confused. Or maybe something happened to those corpse bugs that we didn't understand. Stingy man. Shu Longxi rolled her eyes at Xiao Pingan. I'm not stingy. If you have anything good, you can give it to me. I'll summon the sword of the Son of Heaven again to show you the difference. Xiao Pingan said with a righteous expression. Chapter 618. There was only the hustle and bustle of the sand in the desert, leaving Xiao Pingan and Shu Longxi with endless desolation and loneliness. As a summoner, it was beneath their status to travel on foot in such a place. Xiao Pingan summoned a steed and a crane that could be used as mounts. He wanted to use the steed and the crane to travel, but although these 2 things could be summoned, they trembled as soon as they came out. The steed knelt on the ground and refused to move, and the crane could not fly into the sky like a dumb bird. Seeing that Xiao Pingan was unable to summon, Shu Longxi finally seized the opportunity to mock him. This is a miniature version of the divine kingdom of the fallen god. It has absolute suppression on all summoners who come here. If you want to summon something in the divine kingdom of the god, isn't that the same as being a guest in someone else's house and setting rules for the host? Naturally, you will be suppressed. Just walk obediently. Xiao Pingan had nothing to say and could only walk obediently. 10 black suns were chosen above the silent desert. There was no light, but the desert was extremely hot, and every grain of sand was boiling hot. Xiao Pingan's body was far stronger than others, but walking in such a place would make people sweat unknowingly. Their bodies would quickly dehydrate, and their physical strength would be rapidly consumed. At times like this, the benefits of a summoner having a space warehouse were revealed. Xiao Pingan's space warehouse had a lot of water and food. Shu Longxi's space equipment also had sufficient water and supplies. Neither of them lacked water or food, and could support the consumption of physical strength. Although the 2 were walking normally, their speed was still very fast, similar to that of ordinary people running. After walking in the desert for less than 7 or 8 hours, they had walked more than 100 kilometers in the desert. The 10 black suns finally set, and the temperature in the desert quickly changed from hot to cold. Every grain of sand seemed to be dyed with fluorescence, exuding a faint cold light. The whole desert became a sea of sand exuding a cold light. At first glance, this shining sea of sand was very beautiful, but one could only understand the horror here when one was in it. Gloomy green willow, the wisps appeared in the desert, making one's heart pound. Xiao Pingon carefully threw a fireball at a gloomy green willow, the wisps that appeared on a sand dune. When the gloomy green willow, the wisps encountered a real fireball, they turned into countless gloomy green sparks in the blink of an eye. But in a moment, those gloomy green sparks gathered and turned back into will-o'-the-wisps. This place was lifeless. There was a black sun during the day and unbearably cold at night. It was like the underworld. Summoning spells and flying in this place not only can't be used, but it will also quickly consume the summoner's physical strength. I suspect that this is a terrifying formation. Array formation is as the base of the desert. I don't know how big it is, but it might be unimaginable. If some monsters come out of this place, then it would be in this place. If we wait until the space, and if their monsters come out, it might be unimaginable. If it is to be. A 7-sun realm summoner could not completely abstain from food, especially in a place like this. Their physical strength was too depleted, and they had to eat. Shu Longxi nodded in agreement, but then pointed at a sand dune in the distance. Can you go over there tonight? Don't come near me. What are you doing? Xiao Pingon was stunned. Because I want to take a bath. You can't peek. Seeing Shu Longxi's stubborn expression, Xiao Pingon felt his teeth ache. He glanced at Shu Longxi. What's there to look at with that body of yours? You actually need me to stay away. Scram! Shu Longxi hugged her chest and glared at him angrily. Fine, don't beg me when you run out of water. Shu Longxi snorted. I'm covered in sweat from walking. If I don't take a bath, I might as well die now. If you really have the ability to make me die here, see if the Shu Long family will let you go after you leave. Xiao Pingon was speechless and could only avoid her. Seeing that Xiao Pingon had really walked far away, Shu Longxi took out a tent and set up an array disc to protect herself. Only then did she relax and enter the tent to take a bath. If Xiao Pingon was next to her, Shu Longxi felt that even if she took out an array disc, she would not be able to protect herself. She would feel exposed. She had to let Xiao Pingon go far away before she could be at ease. This was a strange psychological feeling. After climbing over the hill, Xiao Pingon took out a tent from the secret altar that the craftsman in the secret altar made from the shell of the demon fire spider and went inside to rest. Although he could not summon creatures here, he could still use array discs and puppets. He used an array disc to protect himself and released a few puppets to run outside the array disc and drill into the sand to act as sentinels. He placed a brazier made from the fire bladder of the demon fire spider in the tent. The tent immediately warmed up. Xiao Pingon also fell asleep to recover his energy. From the time he came out of the Sky Motion Sect's secret realm palace until now, Xiao Pingon had been either escaping or fighting. He had consumed a lot of energy. On the second day, the 10 black suns came out again. The temperature in the desert quickly rose and became hot again. Xiao Pingon took out some metal and tools in his tent and began to study the mechanical puppet technique and refine the thunder talisman. When the sun disappeared and the wisps appeared in the desert again, Xiao Pingon put away his tent, array disc, and puppets and prepared to continue on his journey. Xiao Pingon put away the things, and Shu Longxi also tacitly put away her array disc and tent. The two of them continued on their journey. Although it was cold at night, they did not feel cold when they walked. Moreover, they did not need to drink water frequently to replenish their body's moisture. It was indeed much better than traveling during the day. The two of them traveled in the desert for more than 100 days. The desert was boundless. Other than the sand and the green willow, the wisp that appeared that night, there was not even a single cactus. In the beginning, The two of them were worried that there might be monsters in the desert. However, as time passed, and because it was too boring, Xia Pingan instead hoped that something would come out of the desert to relieve his boredom. Unfortunately, there was nothing but sand. If there was no one by his side to accompany him, trudging alone in this vast sea of sand for such a long period of time might really drive him crazy. This desolate and strange desert was like a vast and boundless cage. The sand was the guard of this cage and was everywhere. In this way, for more than 100 days, Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi walked down together. Occasionally, they chatted with each other and inexplicably became familiar with each other, as if they had become friends. Unknowingly, when the two of them rested during the day, they could camp together. Shu Longxi did not seem to be afraid of Xia Pingan camping beside her. Shu Longxi bathed every day. Xia Pingan was surprised to find that this woman's spatial warehouse was so big that the water seemed to never run out. Not only that, Shu Longxi also wore new dresses and new clothes every day. There was no repeat. He really did not know how many things this woman had brought to him. When she found out that Xia Pingan had puppet spiders, Shu Longxi even shamelessly asked Xia Pingan for a few, saying that they would be her sentries. These days, when he rested during the day, Xia Pingan would study the mechanical puppet technique when he had nothing to do. It was rare that there was no one to disturb him. Unknowingly, Xia Pingan's mechanical puppet technique level improved by leaps and bounds. It was an unexpected gain. Because he was afraid of getting lost in the desert, Xia Pingan would summon Shui Hao every 3 days and let Shui Hao divine to confirm the auspicious position and use it to correct the direction. Fortunately, Shui Hao's divination direction was fixed and always pointed in one direction. Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi were confident that they could walk out of this desert. On this day, the two of them were still walking in the desolate desert. Unknowingly, the two of them found that there were more green the wisps in the desert in front of them. The two of them immediately became careful. What is that? Shu Longxi suddenly pointed at a sand dune in front of them and shouted. There were more than 10 the wisps on that sand dune. Among the green the wisps, there was a slight flicker of silver light. To people who were used to the monotony of this desert, it was especially dazzling. Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi were like people who had sailed on the sea for too long and discovered a new continent. The two of them looked at each other and their spirits were lifted. They hurriedly ran towards the silver light. Under the sand dune, only a palm size of the silver light was exposed. It was abnormally smooth and looked like an inverted silver bowl. Xia Pingan ran over, squatted down, and dug up the sand dune beside the silver light. Only then did he realize that it was a skull, a silver skull. The silver light that had just been exposed outside the sand dune was the silver skull of the skull. There was also a spine under the skull. This seemed to be a complete corpse, but it was unknown how long it had been buried here. Damn! Xia Pingan stood up. He was also shocked by the silver skull. Let me... Shu Longxi opened her mouth. Xia Pingan pushed her away, only to see Shu Longxi pointing at the sand dune, a mysterious divine power surging out from her body. The sand dune surged up like a fountain. The sand below rose up, and even the silver skeleton buried in the sand dune was brought up from below by the rolling sand. The skeleton was very complete. The bones were all silver, and it didn't look like an ordinary person. Shu Longxi squatted on the ground and examined it. She stood up and frowned. Who is this? Why are the bones silver? Xia Pingan asked. In terms of knowledge, Xia Pingan knew that this woman in front of him was 10 times more knowledgeable than him. He really couldn't compare. This is the skeleton of an 8th Sun realm summoner. It looks like it has been here for hundreds of years. Shu Longxi said to Xia Pingan. Even an 8th Sun realm summoner died here. This desert seemed to have suddenly become dangerous. The two of them looked at each other and raised their guard. Chapter 619. This summoner probably didn't come in from the outside of the coffin, but from another passageway that leads to the coffin. There must be a way out of this desert. Xia Pingan also squatted down, his eyes flashing with the brilliance of wisdom. He used his hand to stroke the silver skull, and at the same time, used his soul force to carefully examine the silver skeleton. If the owner of this silver skeleton was a soul master, then even after 10,000 years, Xia Pingan would still be able to feel the traces left behind by a powerful soul master. This kind of trace was similar to magnetization. Anything that existed would definitely leave a trace. Unfortunately, there was only a trace of divine power left on this skeleton. There were no traces left behind by a powerful soul master. Therefore, Xia Pingan was sure that this skeleton had come in from another passage. In other words, this desert was not a dead end. There was a way out. How are you so sure? Shu Longxi asked from the side. I feel. Xia Pingan stood up and looked around. He said vaguely, this summoner should have entered this god's graveyard many years ago. Then, for some reason, he died here. Other than this skeleton, nothing else was left. It's a pity that the sand dunes in this desert move. If this was his original place of death, perhaps we can still search and make a fortune. An 8th Sun Realm summoner must have something good on him. Money grubber. By the way, do the bones of summoners of other realms have different colors? Xia Pingan asked. Yes. Shu Longxi nodded. The bones of 8th Sun Realm summoners will be silver. The bones of 9th Sun Realm summoners will be gold. As for demigods, their bones will be like crystals after being washed by divine power. As long as you see these bones, you can basically determine their cultivation realm when they were alive. The bones of summoners of the 8th Sun Realm and above can be used to create runes to greatly increase the power of the runes. If you don't mind, you can keep them. Shu Longxi said to Xia Pingan. Forget it, I don't want to desecrate the bones of the dead. Xia Pingan shook his head. I didn't know you were so principled. Of course. Be careful, we don't want to die here. Shu Longxi nodded. She did not put away the skeleton. The two continued forward. Before long, a golden arm bone appeared from the sand dune in front of them. Shu Longxi used a spell to soak it as before. The golden arm was pushed out by the sand. It was a golden skeleton. The two of them gasped. They looked at each other and saw the shock and fear in each other's eyes. This was the skeleton of a 9 Sun Realm summoner. If a 9 Sun Realm summoner was going to die here, then the two of them would probably be no match. In the next hour, more and more skeletons were found at the place where the green willow, the wisps gathered. Most of them were silver in color, and there were 3 golden skeletons. Finally, the two of them even found a crystal-like arm bone. A demigod came here and lost a hand. Shu Longxi mumbled to herself. She looked at the silent sand dunes filled with willow, the wisps, and her eyes were filled with worry. She asked hesitantly, should we continue? Even a demigod died, so I'm not worried. If there's really danger ahead, we won't be able to hide. Think about it. If this place can attract so many experts, it means there must be something good ahead. Let's continue forward and take a risk. Xia Pingan said very casually. He had already picked up the crystal-like arm bone and put it into his spatial warehouse without any shame. Didn't you say you didn't want these bones? Shu Longxi glared at him. Are all men so duplicitous? Ahem, of course I don't want the dead. This is blasphemy against the dead. But if it's a living person, then it's a resource. It's too wasteful to throw it away. If you're jealous, I'll give you a little. Xia Pingan said as he strode forward. That kind of indomitable spirit made Shu Longxi a little surprised. Looking at Xia Pingan's back, Shu Longxi gritted her teeth and followed. The two of them stopped after walking for less than 10 minutes because a strange sound suddenly came from all directions in the silent desert. The sound was very soft at first, so soft that it was almost inaudible. It was just a rustling sound, as if someone was counting money. However, after a while, the rustling sound became louder and louder, coming from all directions. The rustling sound turned into a rushing sound, as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing over from all directions. The entire sand dune was shaking slightly. Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi's expressions changed. The two of them stood back to back. Judging from a movement in front of them, it was definitely not a human. After a while, a fiery red tail appeared behind the sand dune in front of them like a flagpole. Then, The tail revealed its full appearance. It was a huge fiery red scorpion that was 7 to 8 meters tall and more than 30 meters long. The scorpion was so huge that tanks were like toys in front of it. The scorpion rushed toward the two of them. No, it wasn't just one scorpion, because behind that scorpion, huge red scorpions flipped over the sand dunes like a red tide, surging over from all directions. It was impossible to count them. They were simply densely packed in tens of thousands. Red scorpions, this is a 7 Sun Realm Zerg. No wonder demigods had to run away with a broken arm. Shu Longxi looked at the scorpions rushing over and suddenly sighed. Her voice was calm. Forget it, this is fate. You really got us killed this time. Behind those fiery red scorpions, blue scorpions appeared. Those were 8 Sun Realm Zergs. Xiao Pingan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and could only smile bitterly. In the current situation, even if 107 suns were to appear here, he would still be reduced to dregs in the face of this insectoid army that had completely overturned his understanding, let alone him. The difference in strength between the two sides was so great that it was impossible to compare. Sorry, I didn't expect there to be so many high-level Zergs here. Xiao Pingan smiled bitterly at Shu Longxi. The speed of those scorpions running on the sand was much faster than theirs. Those scorpions were too fast, as if they were gliding on the sand dune. As for him, he could neither fly nor use the earth escape technique here. The densely packed scorpions were swarming in from all directions. It was completely impossible for him to escape. This is the god kingdom of a fallen god. It's not strange for things to appear here. You did your best, and I don't blame you. If it weren't for you, we would have been turned into mummies floating in the void by those corpse worms 100 days ago. If there's a chance in my next life, I'll repay you with my life. As he spoke, Xiao Pingan had already taken out the 7-star sword whip and was ready to fight. All the giant scorpions surrounded the two of them in the middle of a sand dune, but no giant scorpions charged over. The scene was eerily quiet. These giant scorpions don't seem to be in a hurry to take our lives. Xiao Pingan said to Shu Longxi with a thought. I think they're discussing how to make it delicious. Shu Longxi said, but Xiao Pingan saw that she had already taken out a large number of bottles and jars. She was quickly mixing the contents of those bottles and jars together, as if she was refining some kind of pill. What are you doing? I'm struggling to see if I can concoct a medicine that can drive these giant scorpions away. These giant scorpions hate certain smells, and they want to treat us as their dinner. I can make their dinner unhappy. It's best if they despise us, then we can live. Before Shu Longxi finished concocting the medicine, Xiao Pingan saw the giant scorpions in front of him suddenly split to the sides, revealing a path. Then, a giant golden scorpion that looked like it was made of gold slowly walked over from behind the group of scorpions. Gold, 9 Sun Realm. This was a Scorpion King. Seeing this Scorpion King appear, Xiao Pingan thought of the Golden Insect King that destroyed the Immortal City. These two were existences of the same level. Shu Longxi sighed when she saw the Insect King appear. She stopped concocting the medicine. Against an Insect King of this level, any medicine would be useless. The Scorpion King's movements were neither fast nor slow. It didn't show any obvious signs of aggression. It walked all the way to Xiao Pingan and Shu Longxi before stopping. Then it laid on the ground and extended its 2 huge front pincers in front of the two of them, as if it was placing 2 ladders in front of them. Xiao Pingan blinked. He felt that this Scorpion King didn't have any hostility. It seemed like it wanted him to climb onto its back. Chapter 620. The Scorpion King's huge body was lying in front of Xiao Pingan and Shu Longxi with immense pressure. Its huge golden pincer was just inches away, as though it could destroy the two of them with a wave. There were countless 7 Sun Realm and 8 Sun Realm scorpions eyeing them covetously. The atmosphere almost froze, and even the sound of Shu Longxi's breathing became soft. If you want us to get on your back, nod. Xiao Pingan suppressed the shock in his heart and tried his best to speak in a calm voice. The Scorpion King really nodded. It should have completely understood Xia Pingan's words. Although Xia Pingan didn't know what this scorpion army wanted to do, it probably wouldn't be difficult for these scorpions to take his life in this situation. Therefore, he didn't hesitate any longer. After glancing at Shu Longxi, he stepped on the Scorpion King's huge golden pincer and walked all the way to the back of the Golden Scorpion King as though he was walking up a flight of stairs. When Shu Longxi saw Xia Pingan go up, she gritted her teeth and followed Xia Pingan from the huge pincer to the back of the scorpion. After the two of them climbed onto its back, the Golden Scorpion King turned around. Under the escort of countless scorpions, it walked on the sand and quickly rushed into the distance. Xia Pingan was already sitting cross-legged on the Scorpion King's back. The back of the Scorpion King was as wide as the deck of a battleship. Pieces of huge golden hardshell protected the Shu King's body like armor. There were even dents between the hardshell. Sitting there, Xia Pingan was extremely shocked to see the Scorpion army on both sides of the desert with their tails erect. They were like a magnificent army with thousands of men and horses. The Scorpion King's speed in the desert was too fast, and it was abnormally stable. It was not running, but surfing and gliding in an ocean of sand dunes. It was the surging sand waves that pushed the scorpions forward. The other scorpions beside him were like huge sailing ships racing in the sea of sand. Their tall tails were like the masts of the sailing ships, and the sand they stirred up was like the waves in the sea. It was especially moving. The direction in which these kings were advancing was also the auspicious location that Shui Hao had divined. Riding the Scorpion King in the sea of sand, Xia Pingan felt that if he could capture the scene in front of him, it would be enough for him to brag about for decades. The Scorpion army kept leaving sand dunes behind them. In just a few moments, they had already traveled over 100 kilometers in the desert. What do you think these scorpions want? Shu Longxi had never seen such a scene before. She sat beside Xia Pingan and asked uneasily. Anyway, it won't kill us. Xia Pingan rubbed his chin. Nonsense. Shu Longxi's beautiful eyes turned. Do you think they want to take those red beads, mine? Xia Pingan decisively interrupted Shu Longxi again. These days, he had also studied the red beads left behind by the corpse bugs, but he had no clue. Those beads were heavy and looked like crystals, but they were indestructible. He tried to inject divine power, soul power, and even blood into those beads, but the beads didn't respond. Xia Pingan was at his wit's end. He could only put those beads aside and study them in the future. Anyway, Xia Pingan knew that the corpse bugs were born near the corpses of gods after they fell. They wanted to devour the corpses of gods, so the beads that the corpse bugs turned into were definitely not ordinary objects. Stingy. Shu Longxi gritted her teeth, but there was nothing she could do. Xia Pingan turned a deaf ear. He took out a bottle of wine and drank 2 mouthfuls, enjoying the pleasure of riding on the Shu King's back. The Scorpion King army rushed through the desert. They ran for an entire day and night. The distance they covered in one day and night was more than the distance Xia Pingan and the others had covered in 100 days. At night on the second day, an oasis in the sand dunes appeared in front of Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi. The oasis was too beautiful. It was a huge and tranquil blue lake. In this lonely desert, the lake was as dazzling as a sapphire. In the middle of the lake, there was a huge, towering building. The huge building was mottled. The grayish-white building had the color of a sand dune. It had an ancient aura. It was unknown how long it had stood there. It was desolate, sacred, and had a huge, oppressive aura. A long stone arch bridge with 81 bridge holes extended from the temple in the lake. It extended to the edge of the lake and connected to the sea of sand. The Scorpion King army stopped. The Golden Scorpion King lay on the ground again and extended its huge golden pincer. It placed its pincer at the end of the stone arch bridge. Its meaning was very obvious. Xia Pingan and Shu Longxi walked down the pincer and stepped on the stone arch bridge. The Scorpion King withdrew its golden pincer. Brother Scorpion King, thank you. Xia Pingan nodded at the Golden Scorpion King. The Golden Scorpion King also nodded at Xia Pingan, then turned around and led his army to disappear behind a sand dune in the blink of an eye amidst the dense, rustling sounds. They left cleanly. "Let's go in and take a look." Xiao Pingan looked at the huge building in the distance and directly walked towards it. The bridge was not wide, only about 2 meters. Shu Longxi looked around as she walked. The lake under the bridge was too beautiful, clean, and clear. Shu Longxi could not help but look at the lake. Suddenly, a pale face submerged in the lake emerged from the bottom of the lake. That pale face had its eyes open. It was wearing a gorgeous summoner's robe. It stood upright in the water and looked at the bridge. One of its hands was raised and extended as if it wanted to grab something. Following the appearance of that pale face, even more pale faces submerged in the water appeared one by one. They were so densely packed that just one look was enough to make one's scalp numb. "Ah!" Shu Longxi cried out in alarm. She quickly withdrew her gaze and grabbed Xiao Pingan's arm. "Don't look around," Xiao Pingan said in a deep voice. "That sea of sand and this lake are filled with endless killing intent. Who knows how many intruders have been buried here?" Just now, Xiao Pingan felt that the water under the bridge was a little unusual. It was too pure and beautiful. He could not help but quietly explore it with his soul power. As soon as his soul power touched the surface of the water, Xiao Pingan felt that there were countless grievances and terrifying auras gathering under the water. His head shook, and he instantly hallucinated. He quickly withdrew his soul power, and the hallucination disappeared. This seemingly beautiful underwater was actually very terrifying. Shu Longxi's face was also slightly pale. "I heard that after the gods fall, countless people will be buried with them in the years after. The people in this lake may be buried with them. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food." Xiao Pingan shook his head. "Those who took the risk to come here want the things and treasures left behind by the gods. Naturally, they have to be prepared to sacrifice themselves." Just as Shu Longxi was about to say something, she suddenly turned her head. On this side, she saw that the bridge that she and Xiao Pingan had just walked on was slowly disappearing. This caused Shu Longxi to be shocked once again. "Ah, the bridge is disappearing. Calm down," Xiao Pingan calmly said. "Otherwise, how do you think the people in the lake fell into the lake?" The two of them walked along the long stone arch bridge to the end of the bridge. There was a square on this side of the bridge. On the opposite side of the square was the magnificent building, which was engraved with a desolate and sacred aura. The gate of the building was over 50 meters high and was completely open. Behind the gate was a flight of stairs. Behind the stairs was a magnificent palace. What shocked Xiao Pingan the most was the 2 words on the door. They were written in Xiaozhuan script, Tomb of the Gods. As the two walked to the square, the bridge behind them completely disappeared. There were also skeletons in the square. They were all scattered silver skeletons. There were also some golden skeletons. The skeletons stretched from the square to the entrance of the building in front, and then from the entrance all the way to the stairs behind. Set off by the skeletons, the door of the magnificent building was like a giant mouth that had swallowed countless powerhouses and was waiting for a new delicacy to enter. In addition to the skeletons, there were also some weapon fragments, various bottles and jars, and even realm pearls. Seeing the realm pearls on the ground, Xiao Pingan licked his lips. Chapter 621. Looking at the skeletons and the various items scattered on the ground, Xiao Pingan could even imagine the scene of those skeletons' owners' spatial warehouses and equipment exploding the moment they died. The realm beads on the ground were a bit strange. Ordinary realm beads could still see the bright light within them, but the realm beads on the ground were a bit dim. The light within the realm beads could no longer be seen. "Be careful." Shu Longxi saw Xiao Pingan's eagerness and couldn't help but remind him. "So many people have died here. This place might be dangerous." "I know." Seeing more than a dozen realm beads that had lost their light on the ground, Xiao Pingan summoned the Sinking Star Assassin and had it go forward to pick up the realm beads. As soon as the sinking star assassin's hand touched the realm beads on the ground, the realm beads immediately turned into smoke and fine dust that drifted in the air. Damn! Xiao Pingon was dumbfounded. Even the realm beads had turned into dust, just like the outside of the giant coffin. He didn't give up and had the sinking star assassin try to grab the other realm beads. Those realm beads also turned into smoke and dissipated in the air. Aside from the realm beads, the weapons, soul tools, bottles, jars, and even gold and silver on the ground turned into dust and dissipated in the blink of an eye when the sinking star assassin touched them. Shu Longxi didn't care about the things on the ground at all. She didn't fight for them and let Xia Pingon have the sinking star assassin try to grab them. How much do you need the realm beads? Shu Longxi muttered and looked around. This should be the core area of the tomb of the fallen gods. It's a forbidden area among forbidden areas. It has a strange and terrifying power. Aside from the items buried with the dead, I'm afraid that other things won't be preserved here for long. The well-fed don't know the suffering of the starving. Xiao Pingon sighed and thought that it was a pity. There were hundreds of realm beads in front of him, and there were hundreds that he hadn't fused with. He didn't expect that these realm beads had already lost their vitality. If he could fuse with these realm beads, he would have made a fortune. Aside from the bones, everything else turned into dust and dissipated in the air. Since he couldn't pick up the things on the ground, Xiao Pingon could only walk towards the door of the building. From the gate to the stairs, the skeletons scattered all over the place made one's hair stand on end. From the shape of those skeletons, it seemed that they had all died here after fighting each other. This was because Xiao Pingon saw many skeletons entangled with each other. Some skeletons had weapons in their arms that were directly inserted into the bodies of other skeletons. The scene was like a fierce battlefield, and some skeletons were still in the same state as when they were casting spells. These skeletons seem to have come here together. I wonder why they are fighting each other. Shu Longxi sighed. They probably thought that they had passed the previous levels and that the treasure was right in front of them. Then, someone couldn't help but make a move. Xiao Pingon said. Just as the two of them walked into the tomb of the god of sin, something strange happened. A silver skeletal arm on the ground suddenly moved when Xiao Pingon passed by, grabbing at Xiao Pingon's ankle. Xiao Pingon was always vigilant. When that silver skeletal arm moved, Xiao Pingon was startled. Without thinking, he instinctively jumped up like an antelope and kicked at that skeletal arm. Crack! The entire skeleton was kicked away by Xiao Pingon. It flew down the stairs, but didn't scatter. After the skeleton that was kicked away landed on the ground, it stood up shakily amidst the cracking sounds. Two gloomy green willow, the wisps lit up in the eye sockets of the skull, and a hoarse voice came out of its mouth like a file. God's secret treasure. Mine, all mine. No one can take it away. As it spoke, the skeleton once again grabbed at Xiao Pingon. Without waiting for the skeleton to rush over, Xiao Pingon's fireball flew over and directly smashed the skeleton into the wall beside the huge door. The fireball that could melt gold and iron fell on the skeleton, but the skeleton wasn't hurt at all. It was only sent flying, but it stood up in the blink of an eye. Mine! It's all mine, God's secret treasure, my God's secret treasure. I found this place, mine. All of you, go to hell. In the next second, all the silver and gold skeletons that were originally lying on the ground started to move. The skeletons made harsh and unpleasant sounds, and the wisps lit up in the eye sockets of their skulls. They started to rush towards Xiao Pingon and Shu Longxi. Not only did the skeletons rush towards Xiao Pingon and Shu Longxi, but they were also pulling and fighting with each other, scrambling to rush up the stairs. Xiao Pingon saw a golden skeleton tear off the head of a silver skeleton in front of it, throwing the silver skeleton's head to the back. Then it grabbed the spine of another silver skeleton next to it and directly shook the silver skeleton into pieces. Those dismembered skeletons regrouped in the blink of an eye and continued to rush towards the stairs like unkillable monsters. The skeletons were fighting with each other, but they didn't want Xiao Pingon and Shu Longxi to rush up. As the skeletons waved their arms, there were sounds of explosions in the air, like knives and axes. The force was so great that it was terrifying. It stirred up the air here, bringing about gusts of hurricane like cyclones. Hurry up! Xia Pingan summoned a giant to rush in front, and he quickly rushed up the stairs with the giant. Shu Longxi and Xia Pingan also thought of the same thing. Shu Longxi also summoned a giant. The giant held a huge shield and rushed up the stairs together with the giant summoned by Xia Pingan. The two giants rushed forward together like two huge meat shields. Their thick arms waved wildly, and the brute force of the giants directly knocked away some of the silver skeletons that had just stood up on the stairs. The collision between the giants and the silver stairs was like a thunderclap. A series of rumbling sounds came from the stairs, and the collision was unusually fierce, but those skeletons were not to be trifled with. In just a moment, the giant summoned by Xia Pingan was already covered in wounds. One of its arms was torn off by a silver skeleton, and the light on its body had dimmed. Suddenly, a golden skeleton appeared in front of the giant summoned by Xia Pingan. It jumped up and chopped down with its palm. The giant summoned by Xia Pingan raised its hand to block, but the giant's body was split in two from head to waist by the golden skeleton. It dissipated into light. A rank 2 giant couldn't even take a single move from the golden skeleton. Then, the golden skeleton's next palm chopped down on Xia Pingan. The golden palm rolled up a gust of wind, and the skeleton gritted its teeth and roared the word die. The huge Xuanwu appeared in front of Xia Pingan, and the giant's palm chopped down on Xuanwu's thick tortoise shell. At the same time, Xuanwu's black breath burst out, flooding the tens of stairs behind it. A layer of black ice instantly condensed on the golden skeleton's body, and its movements became sluggish. At the same time that Xuanwu dissipated into light, Xia Pingan had already grabbed the frozen golden skeleton's foot with one hand. The layer of black ice on the golden skeleton had already melted by half in the blink of an eye. Before the other half melted, Xia Pingan roared, and a violent force erupted from his body. He directly swung the golden skeleton up and threw it towards the stairs behind him. Boom! The golden skeleton shot towards the skeletons behind him like a cannonball, smashing 7 or 8 skeletons in an instant, and a large number of skeletons fell down. After a successful attack, Xia Pingan did not stop. He instantly summoned a giant meat shield and crazily rammed away the frozen silver skeletons on the stairs in front of him. Cooperating with the giant, they killed their way up the stairs. Xuanwu's powerful breath could only temporarily slow the movements of the skeletons at this time, but it could not completely freeze them. Xia Pingan cast a secret art of exorcism, and a flashing red pig's blood was summoned by Xia Pingan and fiercely splashed it on the skeletons in front of him. However, the skeletons were still moving, and the exorcism's secret art had no effect on these skeletons. What's going on with these skeletons? No one summoned them. How can they move? Xia Pingan asked while summoning another Xuanwu to freeze the movements of the skeletons and release a spell to follow behind the giant. This is the deepest obsession of these skeletons when they were alive. This place is a bit strange. It can let a trace of the obsession of these skeletons when they were alive remain in their bodies and not completely dissipate. Shu Longxi said, while releasing a golden shield and a huge ice wall behind her, blocking the silver skeletons behind them for a moment. Then, the two of them continued to rush up more than 10 stairs. The giant in front of them was once again torn apart by a silver skeleton in the blink of an eye. When the silver skeleton rushed over, Xuanwu appeared again and condensed another breath. Xia Pingan once again grabbed the ankle of the silver skeleton and shot the skeleton behind him like a cannonball, and then summoned another giant to block it. The two of them cooperated well. Xia Pingan rushed forward, and Shu Longxi covered the back. Both of their spells were very powerful, and under the coordination of each other, they rushed all the way up. When the skeletons pulled and fought with each other, they directly broke through the long stairs and rushed up from the bottom of the stairs. Behind the stairs was a row of huge stone pillars, and behind the pillars was a large hall. As soon as the two of them crossed the last step, the two golden skeletons behind them let out sharp screeches and rushed up. However, as soon as the two golden skeletons crossed the last step, their skeletons fell to the ground with a crash. At the bottom of the stairs, all the skeletons that were still fighting with each other and wanting to rush up suddenly stopped moving. With a crash, all the skeletons fell to the ground, and not a single one of them could stand up. Everything just now was like a dream. Xia Pinggan and Shu Longxi still had lingering fears. Although those skeletons could no longer use spells, they were still very powerful. If they had been alone, or if those skeletons had not been fighting with each other, it was hard to say whether a Seven Sun Realm summoner could have made it through the stairs. Chapter 622. In the blink of an eye, everything calmed down. Xia Pinggan looked at the imposing stone pillars outside the main hall and the closed door in the middle of the main hall. After taking a deep breath, he asked Shu Longxi, "What do you think is inside the main hall? Will there be the remains of deities or other treasures? Is there any record of this in the secret notes of your ancestors? Do you think the remains of fallen deities can be found easily? Legend has it that the remains of deities are more precious than divine weapons. They contain the secrets of deities. A drop of blood of a deity is a priceless treasure that could destroy the heavens and the earth, not to mention a complete body." Shu Longxi glanced at Xia Pinggan grumpily. "There should be very few people who could come here before. If there are things inside, there should be a lot left. Now that you ask this, you feel that we're like grave robbers. How could there be grave robbers like us? Perhaps we were guests invited by the fallen deities. That deity couldn't bear to see his remains and treasures being defiled or fall into the hands of evildoers, so he invited us here on purpose. Now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case." Thinking of the Scorpion King's army that sent them here, Shu Longxi also felt that it was inconceivable. She couldn't say that Xia Pinggan's statement was wrong. Xia Pinggan rubbed his face and chuckled. "Since we're here, let's go in and see what the final mystery is," Xia Pinggan said as he walked towards the entrance of the main hall. Shu Longxi followed Xia Pinggan and added, "If there are treasures, we'll split them equally. Don't worry, if there are treasures here, I won't take them all for myself." As they spoke, the two arrived at the door of the magnificent main hall. The door of the main hall was more than 10 meters tall and looked like it was made of bronze. It was ancient, solemn, and heavy. The bronze door was engraved with complicated runes. For safety reasons, Xia Pinggan had already summoned the Boy of Fortune and prepared to let him enter the main hall to see if there were any dangers. However, when the summoned Boy of Fortune walked to the side of the huge bronze door, he was bounced back by an invisible force. The Boy of Fortune, who had always been lively and naughty, was completely restrained here. Seeing Xia Pinggan's aggrieved and frightened expression for the first time, Xia Pinggan hurriedly put away the Boy of Fortune. Xia Pinggan used his divine power to investigate and found that his divine power was completely absorbed as soon as it came into contact with the huge bronze door. The huge bronze door was like a black hole, emitting a strange feeling. Shu Longxi was also very careful. She didn't know that Xia Pinggan's Boy of Fortune had already hit a wall here. She directly let the giant she summoned go forward, put its hands on the huge bronze door, and pushed it open with force. The sound of the huge door being pushed open was like a low groan from ancient times, echoing throughout the main hall. Behind the huge door was a pitch-black main hall. Inside the main hall, there were 2 rows of 3-meter-tall bronze coiled dragon cauldrons that extended all the way inside. As the huge bronze door was opened, the pair of bronze cauldrons in the main hall burst into flames. The raging flames burned from the cauldrons, illuminating the main hall's entrance. Inside the main hall, it was still deep darkness, as if it could swallow all the light. The aura in the main hall made all the creatures that entered feel as humble and insignificant as ants. Shu Longxi's summoned giant had just taken a step into the hall when it silently dissipated into light, giving Shu Longxi a fright. She hurriedly warned Be careful. The giant I summoned didn't show any signs. As soon as it took a step in, the plane's descent time was reset to 0. This hall doesn't seem to allow summoned creatures to step in. Wait a moment, I'll try first. Under Shu Longshi's warning, Xiao Pingan stepped over the threshold and stepped into the main hall. Standing in the main hall, Xiao Pingan felt that his secret mandala was imprisoned. He tried to use it, but all his spells were sealed by a powerful force. He couldn't summon any summoned creatures. This main hall gave him the feeling that it was a piece of solidified iron. He couldn't summon a giant from a piece of iron. Your feeling is right. This main hall imprisoned all spells and summoned creatures. Only people can enter. Seeing that Xiao Pingan was fine, Shu Longshi followed him into the main hall. The main hall was empty. There were huge pillars on both sides of the coiling dragon cauldrons. As the two of them walked into the main hall, the flames on the cauldrons automatically lit up one by one. The entire main hall was gradually illuminated by the flames. The main hall was completely revealed to the two of them. On both sides of the main hall, there were statues of bronze giants. These bronze giants were over 10 meters tall and had sinister expressions. They held all kinds of weapons in their hands. They were like guards of the main hall, standing solemnly on both sides. Seeing these bronze giants, Xiao Pingan's mind shook. He couldn't help but walk over and caress these bronze giants. These bronze giants had a trace of the mysterious aura of mechanical puppets. That aura was deep and unfathomable, but also abnormally powerful. As a summoner who knew mechanical techniques, Xiao Pingan was shocked when he saw these bronze giants. It was as if he had seen the perfect work of the gods. This was the pinnacle of mechanical puppets. Xiao Pingan sensed the aura of these bronze giants. Purely in terms of physical combat power, their aura was already close to that of 9 Sun Realm Summoner. If such a bronze giant could be brought out, it would probably be a sect treasure for an ordinary sect. And in front of him, these bronze giants stood on both sides of the main hall. Looking around, there were 36 on each side, and a total of 72 in different postures. In the middle of the main hall, there was a pyramid-like platform. There were steps that led directly to the platform. Other than that, in the main hall, there were strange balls of various colors placed below the pyramid-like platform. These balls were more than half a meter in diameter. They were colorful and flashed with a layer of strange light. They seemed to be gold, yet not gold, and seemed to be stone, yet not stone. Just like the tributes below the pyramid-like platform, they were placed in 3 full circles. At first glance, there were about a few hundred of them. God's secret treasure. Shu Longshi exclaimed at the sight of those huge round balls. She instantly rushed to the front of those colorful beads and stroked a red bead, which was as brilliant as the sunset glow. She revealed an extremely surprised expression. God's secret treasure? What was God's secret treasure? Xiao Pingan didn't know. He had never even heard of it before. Just as he was about to walk over to take a look and ask Shu Longshi what was so strange about those balls, a strange voice suddenly appeared in Xiao Pingan's mind. It had a power that could shake one's heart. Come, I will give you endless power. Come, I will give you the honor of being above all the worlds. Come, I will give you the supreme power. Come, I will give you the immortality of being as bright as the sun and the moon. Come, everything you want is here. The voice seemed to come from the platform at the top of the pyramid. The moment the voice appeared, there seemed to be a golden light flashing from the top of the pyramid. Shu Longshi was still immersed in those large balls. She looked at them and then looked at them. She was so ecstatic that she didn't seem to have heard the voice at all. Under the guidance of that voice, Xiao Pingan was shocked. Unconsciously, he walked to the bottom of the huge pyramid. Following the steps of the pyramid, he walked up step by step until he reached the top of the platform of the pyramid. The top of the pyramid was a platform covering thousands of square meters. On the platform was the huge dome of the main hall. The dome of the main hall was like a starry sky. A golden light shot down from the dome of the main hall and shone on the middle of the platform of the pyramid. In the middle of the platform, there was a brilliant pedestal made of gems. On the pedestal was a huge bronze coffin. Xiao Pingan unknowingly walked to the front of the bronze coffin. A human figure exuding an intense holy light floated up from the bronze coffin. Xiao Pingan couldn't even see the face of the human figure. Because the person was covered in light, it was so dazzling that he couldn't open his eyes. It was too brilliant, like the human figure of the sun. But from a figure, he could vaguely tell that the human figure was male. When a human figure emerged from the bronze coffin, the entire main hall was bathed in a sea of light. Was this a god? Was this the body of a god? Xiao Pingan's heart trembled. At the same time, the voice in his heart became louder and more bewitching. Come, I will give you endless power. Come, I will give you the honor of being above all the worlds. Come, I will give you the supreme power. Come, I will give you the immortality of being as bright as the sun and the moon. Come, everything you want is here. Xiao Pingan couldn't help but walk towards the human figure in the light. When the light shone on Xiao Pingan's body, Xiao Pingan felt warm all over. It was indescribably comfortable and intoxicating. The clothes on his body unknowingly turned to ashes. Xiao Pingan opened his arms and closed his eyes. He wanted to embrace the sun in his arms and welcome the endless power, honor, immortality, and power. When Xiao Pingan stepped onto the pedestal made of gems and arrived at the huge bronze coffin, the pillars of the Sage Master Hall in his secret mandala seemed to feel some kind of powerful force and slightly trembled. It was this trembling that made Xiao Pingan's mind clear. Xiao Pingan looked at himself in surprise as he opened his arms to embrace the human figure. What was he doing? Was that endless power, honor, immortality, and power really so easy to obtain? With this slight hesitation, the aura of the human figure wrapped in light suddenly became incomparably berserk, like a raging sea. It seemed to have lost all patience and suddenly pounced on Xiao Pingan. The flashing human figure fused into Xiao Pingan's body. An overwhelming amount of energy surged over. Xiao Pingan's vision darkened, and he felt like every cell in his body was about to explode. The last voice he heard in his consciousness was the voice that had appeared in his heart just now. It was laughing wildly. Ha ha, I finally found a suitable body. Lowly mortals, I'm back. Chapter 6:23. In a daze, Xiao Pingan opened his eyes. He thought he was still on the high platform of the pyramid, but when he opened his eyes, he found that he was in a strange place. This place was surrounded by clouds and mist. It was clean and misty, and he couldn't see anything around him. It was a special space. Where is this place? Just as Xiao Pingan raised his head to look around, a sudden laughter rumbled above his head like thunder. Xiao Pingan raised his head and saw that right in front of him, there was a 1,000 feet tall silhouette that was emitting a golden light. The silhouette had its head lowered and was looking down at him with a mocking expression. With Xiao Pingan's current size, he was no bigger than an ant in front of this shining figure. This shining figure was a real monster to Xiao Pingan. Only by looking up could Xiao Pingan see the brilliant face of the figure behind the clouds and mist. Your spiritual embryo realm is bigger than I thought. This is an anomaly, ha ha ha. The figure's voice shook the entire space. Where is this? Xiao Pingan asked. As he spoke, he also looked down at his hands. His body was a bit strange. It was very similar to a spirit body, but it wasn't a spirit body. His whole body was also flashing with a layer of golden light, but it wasn't as dazzling as the figure, and his body size couldn't be compared. I've told you that we're in your embryonic realm of consciousness. Haha, I almost forgot that you're just a humble mortal. The secret of the embryonic realm of consciousness could only be touched by deities. That shadow's voice sounded a bit mocking. Given that you've provided me with a body and you're going to die soon, I can explain it to you. The embryonic realm of consciousness is the source of your life and soul. You are the fallen god? Xiao Pingan understood a little, and his heart sank. I didn't die. If you hadn't shown up, I would have stayed in the tomb of the gods for another 10,000 years at most. Then, my last trace of divine consciousness would have been erased by time, leaving only my god's body. Then I would have really died. Fortunately, you came before I died. Later, I will annihilate your divine consciousness, and the God's body I left behind will completely merge with your body. My divine consciousness will also occupy your embryonic realm of divine consciousness. In the future, I will be you. I will use your body to become a god again. Humble mortal, you should feel honored to be a part of me. The figure had already opened his hands as if to embrace the world. As soon as he opened his mouth, his breath became clouds and the wind. The clouds and mist in the whole space rolled up, and the whole space was filled with the voice of the figure. The glory of the god of trickery will come to the Yuanxiu world again, and my believers will gather again. Huh? You are the god of trickery? Why haven't I heard of it before? Xiao Pingan said as he tried to stall for time. At the same time, his mind was spinning rapidly, trying to find a chance of survival. Don't try to stall for time. No one can save you. The figure seemed to have easily seen through Xia Pingan's intention, but he didn't care. More than 100,000 years ago, the Church of the God of Trickery could make the whole Yuanxiu world tremble. It won't be long before I come back again. I didn't expect to see the inheritance of the spiritual realm in you. It's rare to have a few words with an interesting and special mortal like you. This is the only reason why you're still alive now. So, from the beginning, this has been your conspiracy. You just want to find a person whose body you can take over? Xiao Pingan had already understood. Of course, because this is my chance of survival. I just throw out a few things casually, and those greedy and stupid mortals will rush here dauntlessly and sacrifice their lives for me to choose. They want the treasures of the gods, and I just want to choose a body that can let me continue. This is a very fair trade. Gods can also fall? Of course, the war between the two masters has swept through all the spaces in the universe and the divine realm. Too many gods have fallen in the war of the gods. I almost died, and the spiritual realm was completely destroyed. There are fewer and fewer summoners with strong soul power. The figure sighed, and at the same time, raised a hand and was about to press down. The whole spiritual embryonic realm suddenly flashed with lightning and thunder, and black clouds rolled, as if representing the killing intent of the gods. Do you have any last words? You can say them now. Wait. Xiao Pingan hurriedly shouted. The huge finger was suspended in the air and didn't fall immediately. What do you want to say? Xiao Pingan calmed his mind, raised his head, and looked at the high and mighty figure. If you let me live, I can find you a better body. Ha ha, using tricks in front of the god of trickery. Lowly human, this is the last fun you're giving me. After the high and mighty figure finished speaking, the finger pressed down on Xia Pingan's body with wind and thunder. That enormous and terrifying power had caused Xia Pingan's entire body to tremble before the finger had even landed. Xiao Pingan opened his eyes wide without blinking. Only the falling wind and thunder made his tears flow, and he couldn't open his eyes at all. When Xiao Pingan opened his eyes, he saw a scene that he would never forget for the rest of his life. The finger of the light figure was like a huge club, and when it fell more than 10 meters above his head, it stopped. In the clouds behind the light figure, there was an even taller figure like a mountain almost 1,000,000 feet tall, sitting cross-legged with its eyes closed. A huge and solemn pagoda was behind the even larger light figure that was sitting cross-legged with its eyes closed. It connected the heavens and the earth and connected the three realms. The clouds of the spiritual embryo realm had already dissipated at this time, revealing a part of the larger light figure's body. Compared to the light figure behind it, the light figure that wanted to annihilate Xia Pingan suddenly became like an ant, insignificant. No, impossible. The light figure of the god looked at the larger light figure that was sitting cross-legged with its eyes closed and cried out in horror. It then looked down at Xia Pingan, and its eyes suddenly became frightened. It seemed to understand something, and the light figure of the god directly knelt down in front of the huge light figure, as if it wanted to beg for forgiveness. A finger gently fell from the sky. No, the light figure of the god was like a bubble that had been punctured by an iron rod, and it instantly dissipated, leaving behind only one last terrified and mournful cry in Xia Pingan's spiritual embryo realm. Xia Pingan looked at all this with a dumbfounded expression, completely unaware of what had happened. The light figure that was sitting cross-legged had its eyes closed from beginning to end, and with just a lift of its hand, the light figure of the god had already been annihilated. Why would such an existence appear in his spiritual embryo hidden world? "Who are you?" Xia Pingan shouted at the light figure that had annihilated the god. There was no response. The clouds of the spiritual embryo realm surged again, covering the huge light figure that was sitting cross-legged and the pagoda behind it. Xia Pingan's spiritual embryo realm returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. When Xia Pingan woke up, he found himself lying in a patch of grass. A few soft weeds were touching his face, making his face itchy, and he suddenly woke up. What happened? Where is this? Xia Pingan was dumbfounded. The last memory in his mind was the moment when a humanoid figure wrapped in flames rushed towards him on the pyramid platform. He couldn't remember anything after that. Could it be that he had merged with the body of a god? Xia Pingan quickly closed his eyes and looked inside himself. In the blink of an eye, a look of shock appeared on Xia Pingan's face. This was because he found that inside the muscles, bones, and internal organs of his body, there was a body of flames that had been bound to his physical body. He felt that there was an additional body inside his body, but he didn't feel any discomfort. Everything was normal. Soon, some mysterious information automatically appeared in Xia Pingan's mind. The information told Xia Pingan two things. The body of flames in his body was the body of a god. The god spirit's body had become a part of his body, but he couldn't use it yet. He could use his soul power to refine the god spirit's body bit by bit and completely fuse it with his body. Then his body would be completely reborn. He had actually merged with a god. Xia Pingan's face was full of shock. Chapter 624. Xia Pingan could not react to the information that appeared in his mind for a long time. He was dumbfounded. Recalling all the previous experiences, Xia Pingan felt that something was not quite right, but he could not tell why. Was the body of the god in the tomb of the gods waiting for him to fuse with it? Did it leave such a great benefit to him? Why did it feel a little strange? Moreover, when he was in the tomb of the gods, he listened to the voice in his heart and climbed up the high platform of the pyramid in a daze. During that process, he felt that something was not quite right. It was as if he was being controlled and lost his mind. Could this god's body be forcefully sold? Especially at the last moment, when the giant pillar in his secret mandala of the Sacred Master Hall shook, and he was momentarily awake. The human figure wrapped in flames suddenly rushed towards him. At that moment, the ferocious and violent god's body showed, made him feel a little scared when he recalled it. There was also the wild laughter and voice that appeared in his sea of consciousness. "Lowly mortals, I am back." Could it be that it was also an illusion? Everything was the warmth and surprise given to him by the god's body left behind by the fallen god. He did not even know who the fallen god was. This was too ridiculous, but the result in front of him seemed to be the case. Xia Pingan could not figure out the key points in this, but he felt that this kind of fairy tale would not inexplicably happen to him. He was not at ease, so he used his divine power and soul power to check the situation in his body and the god's body in his body over and over again. He even used his spirit body to enter the spirit world temple to take a look. After all the checks, there was no problem with his body and the secret mandala. The god's body was not hiding anything, and there was no sign of life. Xia Pingan was relieved. Xia Pingan stood up and looked around. He was in a green and soft grassland. There was a large peach blossom forest near the grassland. The peach blossom forest was colorful, and the peach blossoms were in full bloom. A fragrance came with the wind, and a few magpies were chirping happily on the peach blossom trees. On the other side of the grassland, there was a quiet and beautiful lake. A small stream flowed from the peach blossom forest and flowed past Xia Pingan. Then, petals floated in the stream and flowed into the lake. Seeing the lake, Xiao Pingan could not help but think of the strange and gloomy lake full of people that he had seen in the desert tomb of the gods. But the lake in front of him was different. Just as Xiao Pingan was looking at the lake, a few fat mandarin fish jumped out of the lake and swallowed the peach blossom petals brought by the stream. This place should be in a valley. However, there was no sky above the valley. There were only rolling red clouds. There was no sun, moon, or stars. This should be a secret realm. Perhaps this secret realm was also a part of the fallen god's land. Xiao Pingan wanted to summon the Boy of Fortune to explore the surrounding environment, but he found that the space here prohibited summoning spells. He could not summon the Boy of Fortune at all. His spatial equipment was also sealed. It seemed that only non-summoning spells could be used. He was sure that this should still be somewhere in the land of the fallen gods. Shu Longxi was lying on the grassland more than 20 meters away from him. She seemed to have fainted. Seeing Shu Longxi, Xiao Pingan almost laughed. This girl from the Shu Longxi family was like a lucky cat. Although she was lying on the grassland, her hands were tightly hugging a big ball that was flashing with a faint blue light. Not only was she hugging it with both hands, but there was also a silver chain around her wrist that locked a big black ball. God's secret treasure? Xiao Pingan looked at the two big balls that Shu Longxi was hugging and chained. Shu Longxi's ecstatic look when she saw these balls flashed through his mind. These things should be good treasures. Otherwise, Shu Longxi would not be so excited. Xiao Pingan walked towards Shu Longxi. He wanted to see how she was doing. Achoo! However, just as Xiao Pingan walked in front of Shu Longxi, who was lying on the grassland, sneezed and woke up immediately. She rolled and got up. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Xiao Pingan standing in front of her. Shu Longxi's first action was to cross her arms and look at Xiao Pingan vigilantly. What do you want? Xiao Pingan looked at Shu Longxi speechlessly as he pursed his lips. I saw you lying here just now, so I came to see if you're okay. Also, I don't want to do anything to you. Can you not pose like a victim? Shu Longxi lowered her head and saw that she was fine all over. The two gods' secret treasures were also in her hands. She blushed slightly as she hurriedly stood up and looked around. Where am I? I don't know. I should be somewhere in the land of the fallen gods. Summoning skills are suppressed here. Xiao Pingan shook his head. I was lying nearby when I woke up. By the way, do you remember what happened just now? Shu Longxi shook her head as she replied, I only remember that when I was checking these gods' secret treasures, the palace was filled with dazzling golden light. I didn't know what happened either. Therefore, I hurriedly hugged one god's secret treasure and locked another one. After that, I didn't know what happened. Oh, I vaguely saw you walking onto the high platform. What's on a high platform? Have you found anything? Ahem. I just walked up to the high platform. Like you, before I could see what happened, the golden light was dazzling. When I woke up, I was already here. Xiao Pingan was careful not to reveal the fact that he had a god's body in his body. His original body was already being hunted by the demon overlord. If anyone knew that he had a god's body in his body, he would not be able to live anymore. Who knew how many people would want to dissect him? You didn't find anything? Shu Longxi rolled her eyes and looked at Xiao Pingan suspiciously. Really? Xiao Pingan spread out his hands and looked serious. Liar, I don't believe it. You didn't gain anything in the main hall. Hurry up and take out the treasures you got. We agreed to share them equally. Shu Longxi said as she walked over and started to search Xiao Pingan's body with her hands without any scruples, as if Xiao Pingan was hiding something. Shu Longxi seemed to be very sure that Xiao Pingan would get something good after entering the main hall. Don't make trouble. It's itchy. I really didn't hide anything. Shu Longxi quickly searched Xiao Pingan's body, but she really didn't find anything. She was stunned and said in disbelief, You really didn't get anything? Of course. The secret mandala in the hall was sealed. I couldn't hide anything. In this place, the space equipment can't be used. Whatever I have, it's all on me, Xiao Pingan said sternly. However, he couldn't help but look at the two big round balls on the ground. Licking his lips, he revealed a smile and said in a gentle voice, As you said, we should share the benefits equally. The 2 round balls that you made in the palace are very beautiful. You can choose one. I'm generous and won't compete with you. You can choose the remaining round ball and leave it to me. Is that okay? What do you think? Shu Longxi glared at Xia Pingon as she opened her arms and stood in front of the 2 round balls. Using all the strength in her chest, she said briefly and firmly, "Mine, they're all mine." Xia Pingon also smiled as he patiently persuaded her. "Look at you, little girl. How could you be so forgetful? You just said that we should share the treasures in the hall. How could you forget it so quickly? You should always remember that you're the descendant of the immortal clan. Your words and deeds represent the face, dignity, and credibility of Shulong clan. If you regret it now, as a man, I can't force you. But you're telling everyone." Xia Pingon pointed at the 2 big round balls on the ground. "Tell what?" Shu Longxi asked out of curiosity. "You're telling everyone that the face, dignity, and credibility of Shulong clan means nothing. I will propagate it for you in the future. You?" Shu Longxi gnashed her teeth and glared at Xia Pingon. Finally, she gritted her teeth and pointed at the black round ball. "Here, this is for you. We Shulong clan always keep our words." Chapter 6:25. Xia Pingon held the black ball in his hand and looked at it over and over again. The ball was very heavy, about 700 to 800 kilograms. Of course, this weight was nothing to Xia Pingon. He just felt that this ball was a little strange. His divine power and soul power could not detect what was inside. Moreover, this thing seemed to be indestructible and abnormally hard. "What is this ball? I see that you seem to like it very much." Xia Pingon smiled and continued to ask. After spending so many days with Shu Longxi, the 2 of them were already very familiar with each other. They were like friends and already had an indescribable tacit understanding between them. "Oh, you're a dignified summoner in the ethereal opening realm. You actually don't know about God's secret treasure?" Shu Longxi was still immersed in the indignant mood of having her treasure stolen by Xia Pingon. When she heard Xia Pingon's question, she could not help but mock him. "Alas, a summoner like me has come from the grassroots. Not to mention the realm pearl, I even have to fight for a gold coin with my life. I have never seen this thing before. Miss Shu Longxi is beautiful and kind. Her strength is outstanding, and she comes from a wealthy family. She also has unique attainments in the elixir Dao. Naturally, I can't compare to her." You have good taste. Seeing that you are sincerely asking for advice, this lady will teach you." The indignant Shu Longxi seemed to be very easy to coax. Xia Pingon had only said a few nice words, and the corners of Shu Longxi's mouth had already curled up. She seemed to have forgotten that someone had just snatched a god's secret treasure from her. "This ball is not an ordinary thing. It's God's secret treasure." Shu Longxi raised her beautiful face and clasped her hands behind her back. She explained to Xia Pingon like a teacher, "God's secret treasure is the treasure of the Yuanxiu world. God's secret treasure will store all kinds of treasures and strange things. Legend has it that some summoners have even obtained divine artifact from God's secret treasure." "What? There are divine artifacts in God's secret treasure?" Xia Pingon was also shocked. Back in the land of the fallen gods at the bottom of the sea, many experts had spent a lot of time and effort in order to obtain the so-called divine weapon. In the end, they had only obtained a fragment of the divine weapon. Even so, it had already made Supreme Styx overjoyed. The Sky Motion sect had not hesitated to fall out with the Shu Long family for a divine weapon. They had even gone to great lengths to find him and use his soul power to nourish the divine weapon. If this god's secret treasure really hid a divine weapon, then the value of this round ball would be immeasurable. No wonder Shu Longxi was overjoyed when she saw these balls in the hall. See, Xia Pingon drew in a breath of cold air. The treasures in God's secret treasure were simply unimaginable, causing one to be shocked. Why are there so many treasures in these spheres? I don't know. Anyway, I heard from my elders that God's secret treasure appeared almost at the same time as the summoner. What do you mean by it appeared together with the summoner? You don't think that the summoner was born at the beginning of the universe, do you? I don't think so. Of course. My Shu Longxi family records some ancient legends about the Yuan Shio world. According to the legends, the Yuan Shio world was born at the same time as the universe. At the same time, many powerful ancient gods were born. At that time, there were no summoners. Later, the war between the ancient gods broke out. Then, the universe and the Yuan Shio world were divided into good and evil people, beautiful and ugly people. Summoners then became the new gods. At this point, Shu Longxi suddenly changed the topic and asked Xia Pingan a question. By the way, do you know Xia Pingan? Upon hearing this question, Xia Pingan's heart skipped a beat. What did she mean? Had Shu Longxi discovered his identity? Xia Pingan looked at Shu Longxi and found that Shu Longxi's expression was that of someone who couldn't help but want to show off something. She didn't have the shrewd and wise expression of someone who had discovered his identity. He breathed a sigh of relief and said calmly, "If a summoner who entered the god-slaying bug world doesn't know Xia Pingan, wouldn't it be funny? If I knew where he was, I want to catch him and get the reward. Xia Pingan has a big secret." Shu Longxi said to Xia Pingan. She couldn't help but lower her voice. I heard from the elders of my family that the demon sovereign was originally one of the strongest ancient gods. Xia Pingan is the first person who could make the demon sovereign use the temptation of apotheosis to kill him. He is definitely not an ordinary summoner or spacewalker. Xia Pingan may have the secret of the ancient gods on him. That secret can make the demon sovereign drool, or he can't let it go. You don't know, but in fact, except for the Blood Demon Church, almost all the divine descendant families have sent out action teams and experts to search for Xia Pingan all over the world. What was he if not a summoner or a spacewalker? Apart from the fact that he didn't have any difficulty fusing with the Realm Pearl, he didn't have any secret that could make the gods drool. Xia Pingan muttered in his heart. Shu Longxi's words also reminded Xia Pingan that perhaps he had some value that he himself didn't realize. Apart from the Blood Demon Church, he didn't expect that even the divine descendant families would be involved in this game. If his true identity was exposed, he would be targeted by all. Is your Shu Longxi family also sending experts to search for Xia Pingan? Do you want to find him and ask the demon sovereign for a reward? Shu Longxi shook her head. This was decided by the elders of my family. I didn't participate. I think there should be some, but it's hard to say whether they will go to the demon sovereign for a reward. Does your family not want people to be apotheosized again? Shu Longxi rolled her eyes at Xia Pingan. Not all god-descendant clans would stand on the side of the demon overlord. Apart from the demon overlord, there are actually powerful existences that are on par with the demon overlord. Forget it. You wouldn't understand these matters of the god realm, even if I told you about them. Let's take a look at what's in God's secret treasure. This God's secret treasure is round and smooth. It seems that it's difficult for external forces to destroy it. How do we know what's in it? It's precisely because we don't know what's in it that we have to find a way to open it. The way to open this Divinity Realm Pearl is actually very simple. You just need to pour your divine power into a drop of blood and drip it into the God's secret treasure. Then, the God's secret treasure will open. Apart from this method, no other method can open the God's secret treasure. Before opening it, even a demigod won't know what's in it. As Shu Longxi spoke, she had already stretched out her hand and forced a drop of blood onto the God's secret treasure beside her. When the drop of blood fell, Xia Pingan was surprised to see that the round God's secret treasure was actually blooming layer by layer like a flower bud, opening its petal-like shell. Before Shu Longxi's God's secret treasure was completely opened, a strange fragrance came from the secret treasure. As soon as the fragrance came out, the grass on the grassland beside it started to grow crazily, as if it had been cast with a secret technique. The grass around the God's secret treasure, which was originally less than the height of one's knees, grew to the height of one's waist in the blink of an eye. In the grass, there was even again a derma growing. Xia Pingan was also shocked by the things inside the God's secret treasure. He only needed to take a whiff of the fragrance to feel his whole body relax. As for Shu Longxi, she was so excited that her face turned red. She opened her eyes wide and stared at the things inside the god's secret treasure without blinking. The last layer of petals of the god's secret treasure opened, revealing the things inside. It was a red elixir. It was the size of a pigeon's egg and looked like a red gem. Layers of red flames were flowing on the elixir. Within the flames, one could see the shadows of all kinds of flowers. They rose and fell one after another, alternating within the flames and competing with each other to bloom. The fragrance came from this elixir. Myriad flower elixir. Shu Longxi was so excited that she almost jumped up. Chapter 626. When he saw Shu Longxi's excited expression, Xiao Pinggan knew that the pill he had obtained from the god's secret treasure, which looked like a burning ruby, was no small matter. What kind of pill is this Wanhua divine pill? Why does it look different from ordinary pills? Xiao Pinggan asked. This is a divine pill that is hard to come by. Shu Longxi couldn't help but grab the pill in her hand. She held the pill with both hands and sniffed it with an intoxicated look. It was unknown whether it was because of the effect of the pill or because she was too excited. But after sniffing it, Shu Longxi's smooth and beautiful cheeks flashed with an intoxicating blush. This is the most precious treasure that all women dream of. The Wanhua divine pill can make a woman's face blossom like thousands of flowers, never withering. After eating this pill, you can stay young and beautiful forever. There's such a pill? Xiao Pinggan looked at the pill and finally understood why Shu Longxi was so excited. In this world, there was probably no woman who could resist such a temptation. Is it useful for men to eat this pill? This is a pill for women. There are similar pills for men. It's similar to this, but it's black. Shu Longxi said as her eyes began to look around. I have a favor to ask of you. What's the matter? Once this Wanhua divine pill is exposed to light, it can only be stored in a special green wooden vase to be preserved for a long time. I don't have a green wooden vase that can hold this Wanhua divine pill, so I can only take it immediately. Otherwise, its medicinal effect will quickly fade away. Once I take this Wanhua divine pill, I may have to meditate in seclusion for a period of time to completely digest and absorb the medicinal effect of this Wanhua divine pill. During this period, I want you to protect me. Right here. Xiao Pinggan looked at the wild grass that was growing wildly around him and asked. The medicinal effect of this pill was indeed too strong. It was normal for its medicinal effect to fade away. If it didn't fade away, it would be heaven-defying. Shu Longxi nodded and said helplessly, We can only do it here. I think this place should be somewhere in the fallen godland. It's quite quiet, so we can only choose here for now. Otherwise, the myriad flower sacred pill would be wasted. All right, as long as you don't worry, I'll protect you. I'll stay here and take care of you for a while. Oomph. Shu Longxi glanced at Xiao Pinggan. Don't forget, you were the one who kidnapped me. The Shulong family must be looking for you right now. And if something happens to me, the Shulong family will definitely think that you did something to me. So you have to take care of me and don't let anything happen to me, or else you'll be in trouble. I won't talk to you anymore, and the medicinal properties of this pill will be wasted again. Otherwise, the medicinal effect of this pill will be wasted. After saying that, Shu Longxi rushed to a huge pink peach tree in the peach blossom forest. She sat down cross-legged and swallowed the myriad flower sacred pill in one gulp before closing her eyes. In just a few seconds, Shu Longxi's body started to show signs of consuming the Wanhua Dan. A huge pink flower bud appeared around her body, wrapping around her entire body. She sat in the middle of the flower bud, her face flashing with divine light, holy and beautiful. Xiao Pinggan shook his head. This silly girl didn't know that she was very beautiful, or she trusted him too much. She actually took the myriad flowers sacred pill and entered a meditative state right under his nose. If he was a bad person, her current situation would be like sending a lamb to the wolf's mouth. She wouldn't even have the ability to resist. But then again, if something really happened to this silly girl, there would be another divine descendant clan on the list of people who wanted to kill him. What a pity. If only I could use a formation plate to protect this silly girl. That would save me a lot of trouble. Without a formation plate, I can only keep things simple. With the environment here, I should be able to construct a phantom plum blossom formation, Xia Pingon muttered to himself. Of course, he couldn't let anything happen to Shu Longxi. When Shu Longxi was meditating, Xia Pingon had already started to pick up pebbles in the nearby stream. He piled the pebbles he picked up around Shu Longxi and the huge peach tree according to a special position. In less than an hour, Xia Pingon had piled up 72 piles of pebbles. After piling up the pebbles, Xia Pingon plucked some peach blossom branches from the peach tree beside him and inserted them in the middle of the pebbles. He also drew some array runes on the ground. When Xia Pingon inserted the last peach blossom branch into the array core, the aura of an array formation had already risen from the ground around Shu Longxi, who was sitting cross-legged. The flowers gradually blurred one's eyes as countless flowers grew out of thin air and merged with the tall peach blossom tree. It was misty as it protected Shu Longxi within. Shu Longxi's figure and situation could no longer be seen from outside. This phantom plum blossom formation could completely resist the attacks of poisonous insects and ferocious beasts. Even if it encountered a Sixth Sun Realm summoner, it could still confuse and resist for a while. It wouldn't collapse immediately. After setting up an array formation to protect Shu Longxi, Xia Pingon began to investigate the surrounding environment. The results of his investigation made Xia Pingon heave a sigh of relief. This was a valley that spanned about 2 kilometers from east to west and 4 to 5 kilometers from north to south. For the time being, he didn't discover anything ferocious here. There wasn't a single person either. It was like a secluded paradise. It was abnormally quiet. Outside the valley, there was a thick layer of fog and a spatial barrier. The fog was tumbling and changing unpredictably. A spatial vortex would occasionally appear in the fog before disappearing. This was like a quiet secret room in the land of the fallen gods. For the time being, no one would disturb him. Xia Pingon was very satisfied. After investigating the environment, Xia Pingon heaved a sigh of relief and returned to the lawn from before. The Black God's secret treasure that Shu Longxi had given him was still lying on the lawn. Xia Pingon looked at the round ball. His heart skipped a beat. Like Shu Longxi, he forced a little blood from his finger and poured his divine power into the blood. Then, he dripped his blood on the round ball. Like the previous one, the black round ball began to bloom and open layer by layer. When the last layer opened, there was a boom. A ray of light rushed out of the round ball. Then, in the ray of light, a square metallic cube that was flashing with a purple-red luster jumped out of the god's secret treasure. The square metallic cube was very large. Its sides were about 1 meter long. It looked even larger than the round ball in the god's secret treasure. It was unknown how the god's secret treasure had stuffed this thing inside. Xia Pingon guessed that the round ball in the god's secret treasure might be a spatial equipment. That was why it could stuff things that were much larger than it. The square metallic cube floated above the open god's secret treasure, flashing with a mysterious luster. What's this? Xia Pingon was dumbfounded. He had never seen this thing before. After thinking for a while, he touched it with a peach blossom branch beside him. The metallic cube trembled slightly like mercury. Then, in the blink of an eye, metallic peach blossoms grew on the surface of the metallic cube. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.